Larry may come in on Zoom.
What's that?
Larry may come in on Zoom.
I don't know, where's Linda?
All right.
We've got school board member in the audience. Both choose? Okay, give me the names.
Yeah. So, Joan
Murphy.
Murphy
And
Clinton
Quentin Morris.
Quentin.
Oh my God.
Well, good evening and welcome to the Federal Way City Council meeting for December 3rd of 2024, our last meeting of the year. Would you all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, welcome everyone. Yes, the last meeting of the year. Before we get any further, we've got two council members who are excused for the evening. Councilmember Jack Dovey and Councilmember Hong Tran. Also, we have two distinguished guests with us. We have our two Federal Way School Board directors are with us, Joan Murphy and Quentin Morris. Let's give them a big round of applause. Please stand up. Thank you so much for your service. You know, it is really, truly amazing. It's like it's almost a city within itself. I think you've got 23,000 students, 5,000 staff. What an awesome responsibility, and thank you so much for the work you do in everybody, especially. I still have one in high school, and we're going to be empty nesters here pretty short, but we're trying not to think about that. So we are here for a very special occasion. When I became mayor a few years back, one of the things I wanted to do is really make sure that we celebrate the people in our community that have made a profound difference. Individuals who have really just made a lasting and profound and that will continue to have an impact in our community. We are here, we're fortunate to have with us today Mike Dunwitty. Let's give a big welcome to Mike. Now, I want you to imagine it's 34 years ago. The year is 1990. The world is focused on the Goodwill Games. I remember where I was in 1990, just a young guy right out of college. I was working at the Bon Marché, and that's a whole other story. But I remember hearing about the Goodwill Games, and when I think back to how long Mike has been in this position, I think back that I'm like, that's been a long time, and a lot of water under that bridge. One of the things, not to make you sound old, buddy. Exactly, that's right. But what I have to tell you is, Mike has been the leader of the King County, the Weyerhaeuser King County Aquatic Center, which has really been a worldwide destination. And Mike has been since he took over, all those years ago, he's been the first and only coordinator in the history of the King County Aquatic Center, which opened their doors, like I said, 34 years ago in 1990. He transformed the center into an exemplary facility for swimming, synchronized swimming, water polo, swimming and diving competitions. In his role with the King County Aquatic Center, he's made it a world-class facility with prestigious regional, national, international events, including the Goodwill Games, like I mentioned. Here's a case in point. I remember back in 2012, while there were no roads to London, this was certainly one of the people had for the diving championships had for the Olympics in 2012. Those qualifying rounds were at our King County Aquatic Center. I remember being at a restaurant with my family, and little Ben is a real little kid, and we're with the family, and I look up on the TVs, and there's a bunch of we're down the Tacoma waterfront. And there's TVs all over, and it said Federal Way, Federal Way, Federal Way, and I just thought, what an amazing thing! This was probably telecast all across the world. And think about the NCAA championships, the other college championships that we've come by and we've celebrated, and men, women, diving, swimming. There's a lot of records have been set at this pool. I'm going to pretend like I know it about just for 30 seconds, Mike. But because the water's a little bit deeper, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mike, but because the water's a little bit deeper, there's less resistance, and you get a lot of records set at this pool. It's really, it's amazing when you walk in there now, because it still looks almost brand new. And they use it for other international events, like not the computers, but the robots. Yeah, the robotics. Synchronized swimming, all those things. And I have to tell you, we've had the Flag Day event every year for years in front of that facility. We have events on the backside in that meeting room. But I would just say most importantly, Mike has just been a steady, a kind hand and leader in that facility, and really put Federal Way literally on the map. And as I said before, one of the things I started doing is a tradition of giving the key to the city. And why don't I'll go over here and I'll read this, but Mike, maybe you could join me over there. And when I get done doing this, I'll ask council if they want to say anything. Then we're going to have one more presentation after that, and then there's cake. And I asked Mike, the biggest decision Mike had to make about this is, okay, who do I invite and what kind of cake do I want? And so, Mike, we got some chocolate cake for you. All right, so let's meet at the podium. Okay, so I've got a beautiful plaque. I want to thank Pam Jones in my office for helping us with the beautiful key. The City of Federal Way. Key to the City of Federal Way, presented on December 3rd, 2024, to Mike Dunwitty by Mayor Jim Farrell and the entire Federal Way City Council. It reads, "Thank you for your 34 years in leadership of our beloved King County Aquatic Center. You have played an instrumental role in bringing regional, national, international events to Federal Way, including competitions with Olympic athletes. Thank you for your work, dedication, and ongoing commitment to the sport and enjoyment of swimming." Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
All right, Mike, you want to say a few words?
Sure. Mr. Mayor, Council President, City Council members, thank you for this honor. I feel both old and young tonight. Old because of the number of years and what the mayor said about my tenure at the Aquatic Center. Definitely made me feel old, but young because my parents, and some of you got to meet them, are here tonight. They were able to travel and come celebrate this special recognition. After all these years, my mom and dad are still my biggest cheerleaders. So thank you, Mom and Dad. Also with me tonight is my brother Rick and my sister-in-law Meg and my nephew Seth and some special close friends and my colleagues from the Aquatic Center who I'm already missing. Yes, I'm missing you. So thank you all for your support. These 34 years, almost 35, I've just enjoyed an amazing support from the city. And I also wanted to recognize Tanya Carter. That includes our city Economic Development Director, who's working hard right now. She started this summer on the 3 national events that we have at the Aquatic Center next year and the Big 12 Conference Swimming and Diving Championships. 3 of those 4 events are going to be on ESPN. So you heard the mayor talking about seeing you on TV. We're going to see a lot of Federal Way on the TV next year. So that's exciting. Tanya's also doing some initial work on events I've lined up for 2006 and 2007, both national and international events. Mr. Mayor, I think you'll be excited to hear that might even be the remote operated vehicles that you liked. So a lot of exciting stuff for the future. Now, before Tanya, there was Tim Johnson and Patrick Doherty as your economic development directors, and those fellows worked real hard to do the same as Tanya, but also helped us bring the Olympic trials to Federal Way, and that's a big deal. And I appreciate and thank them, and I thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council, for all the support you've given us and the Aquatic Center. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And Mike, I do know that our King County Councilman Pete Von Reichbauer is a huge fan of yours, and he wanted to express his gratitude and thanks. I know he's done that already, and I know that the King County government has been very effusive with their praise. Also, Tim Johnson, our former Economic Development Director, I can't count the number of times that Tim Johnson brought me over to the swimming event, and thank you for your long tradition of working with our city and economic development directors.
You bet. You guys should Google. The mayor and I did a really cool TV episode. I think it's still on Google, is it not? To support one of our Pac-12 events.
That's right. That's
so,
right.
Take a look. Google that for tonight. That's your assignment, all.
We only needed about 10 takes, but that was on me. Council President Kochmar.
Oh, we got to roast you a little bit here.
Okay.
I can't think of anybody who more exemplifies what Federal Way is than Mike. He's been a real tireless advocate for the Aquatic Center, for the diving and swimming championships, and I know we've had some gold medal or silver medal winners from the Olympics.
Gold medals, yeah.
Gold medals, yeah.
Yeah.
So you should be very proud of what he's done, and that facility is in there's only, how many in the entire nation?
At our caliber, about 3 or 4, but we're number 1.
There we go.
Not my opinion. I think we're number 1.
So I sat on his aquatic board for a short period of time, and I came to my house for something. We must have had a board meeting, and he was walking up, and I was cooking something for him.
Oh, that's right.
What was it, Mike?
Is it your cherry?
Cherry dump cake.
Yes.
It was so easy. You just dump it in a pan and put it in the oven. And he's remembered that ever since.
That was so many years ago.
There's one other thing you have to know. If you ever go to an event at his pool, never get in a canoe on a dare. Never, because you will not come out dry. Anyway, thank you very much, Mike, for all of your hard work on behalf of our citizens. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Councilmember Honda.
Thank you. Well, I have a lot of memories of Mike, but my children swam for Highline Swim Club, which was a long time ago, and our daughter was 6 or 7, and on a Friday night, she hit her chin on the edge of the pool, and the last thing you want is blood in your pool, right? The lifeguards had her out of that pool in a second before I even knew what was happening. And, thank goodness, because the pool would have had been closed down and cleaned out if she would have bled all over the pool. And she had 3 stitches, $330 for those 3 stitches, and then they charged us $330 to take them out, too. So it was an expensive Friday night. But Mike and his staff were really very helpful. I was beside myself because she was my baby and she was hurt. And my kids were also, when we had the Olympic trials, they got to give the awards out. And I volunteered and the kids volunteered. It was really cool. But what Mike, most of my memories are with Flag Day. I'm with the Optimus Club of Federal Way. And we were the club that put the flag poles along Campus Drive. And we have had 35 flag days. And 33 of the flag days have been outside in the front of the aquatic center. And, we'd get there at 8 o'clock to set up. Mike and his crew already would have everything set up. If it was rainy, he'd have tents up so that the musicians didn't get wet. Just an amazing, amazing supporter of Flag Day, and he's already promised he'll volunteer this year, which is June 15th.
I think so, yeah. It's going to actually be Flag Day this time.
And we are inside now, which is even better, because no one has to be cold and run inside into the bathrooms to get warm at the aquatic center. But I truly believe that Mike has made Flag Day as successful as it has been, and we couldn't have done it without him. He hasn't missed a Flag Day.
Nah, thank
And
you.
so I can't imagine you're not going to work there anymore, but I'm so grateful that you're going to continue helping us.
Very good. I will.
Thank you so much for everything you've
We'll
done.
be swimming against the current without you.
Very
Couldn't
good,
help it,
Mr. Mayor.
guys. Councilmember Suffolk Dawson?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I too just wanted to say thank you. You've always been pleasant. And also every time I've come to the Aquatic Center, you've made me feel welcomed and special. And I was watching a couple of kids several years ago, and I brought them with me. And you, without hesitating, took them and showed them around, and they talked about it for days. And just the fact that you took interest in these young kids to just, show them around and make that experience for them a memorable one. And so just want to say thank you. And working on LTAC with you, I always relied on your expertise, your knowledge, and what you bring to the conversation. So I'm definitely going to miss that. But thank you for everything you've done here in Federal Way and at the Aquatic Center. And hopefully we'll see you around in the future. I hope you're not going to vanish. But thank you so much, really. I've really appreciated working with you. And
Same here.
be lost, so thank you.
We've done some good work together, and I appreciate it too. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you. Mike, well, let's get when we break, council, let's have, if you could come up here and then, maybe bring, anybody you want with you, some family members. We'll have a picture with the council up here with you. But let's do the next one first, and then we'll break for cake and pictures. All right, with that, I'll turn it over to Council President Kochmar.
Thank you very much, Mayor. Would Christine Ariola and her Stand Up Federal Way community board members come to the podium, please? I can't say enough about this group. They have been out there tirelessly working, and there are other members of our audience that have been working with them, cleaning up encampments, cleaning up litter alongside the road. Thank you. I walked into Dollar Store today and I thought, wow, I don't think you guys have seen the Dollar Store parking lot yet. Our city would be awash in garbage if we weren't having your help. And so we do have some staff members that do work on behalf of cleaning up the encampments and the roads, but we can't do it all by ourselves. We need our citizens to help. And these wonderful people have been just fabulous in helping us clean up our city. And so I'm going to read a little certificate of recognition signed by all 7 council members and the mayor, and then ask Christine and anybody else who wants to say. So this is a certificate of recognition presented to Stand Up Federal Way community on behalf of the elected officials and citizens of Federal Way, Washington, in recognition of the time, effort, and dedication given through your ongoing community cleanup efforts. Dated this 3rd day of December 2024, signed by all 7 council members and the mayor.
What do you think about having them down here, or should we all be down there for their picture too? Okay. What do you think? I'm game either way. It will do.
Good evening, City Council, Mayor, everyone. I'm Christina Ariola, President of Stand Up Federal Way Community. On behalf of our entire group, I want to extend our heartfelt gratitude to the City of Federal Way for this incredible recognition. We are truly honored to be here tonight. Stand Up Federal Way Community is a dedicated group of neighbors and volunteers committed to making our community stronger, safer, and cleaner. Whether it's organizing encampment cleanups, returning shopping carts, or picking up litter, we are striving to make Federal Way a better place for all. But none of this work would be possible without the support of our incredible volunteers. They are the heart of our work, giving their time and energy to serve the community. Tonight, we are not just celebrating Stand Up Federal Way Community. We are celebrating the spirit of service that makes our city truly special. This award belongs to every volunteer who has joined us, every partner who has supported our mission, and every individual who believes in the power of positive change. They are the ones who truly make a difference, and for that, we are deeply grateful. We'd also like to express our sincere thanks to the City of Federal Way, the Parks and Recreation Department, and the Police Department for their support. Their partnership has been essential to our success in the West High Lobos, and we are incredibly grateful for their commitment to improving our city. Special shout out to George and Tony from the Parks and Recs Department. Their contribution was truly outstanding. To those who haven't joined us, we invite you to become a part of the positive change happening right here in Federal Way. Together, we can continue to build stronger connections, create more opportunities for support, and ensure that our city remains a place we all proudly call home. Once again, thank you to the City of Federal Way for this recognition. It fuels our passion and reminds us of the power of community. We look forward to continuing this important work side by side with all of you. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
So could you, Christine, hold on
Could
just
you
a
please
minute.
introduce everyone that's standing with you?
We have Craig Patrick. We have
Speak into the microphone, hon. Thank you.
Craig Patrick, Susan Strong, Steve Millius, Carolyn Hoover, Bob Strong, switch, Vitali, and Anna Patrick.
So, and also, all of those members of the audience who have also helped with cleanup, would you please stand?
Yes, please.
I know
our
there are other members of the
volunteers.
audience that have been helping with.
Melissa, you've come out.
Come on, stand up, I can see you.
I see you. Don't
Thank
be shy.
you. Thank you, and now, we're going to break for cake, and we're going to have a picture with Mike and his family, but then we'd like to have you come up in front here, and we'll get a picture. Hopefully, we can get that in the paper also,
It
so.
might be easiest if we did them first since they're together. Right?
Oh, okay, he's suggesting we have them first.
Well, you know, Mike is actually right there. You guys, let's take care of Mike, and then we're gonna do the picture.
Just stay right there. We'll
Yeah.
do Mike, and then we'll have you come up.
Okay, everybody, we're gonna break at this time. We're gonna take the pictures with the folks we've honored. We're gonna reconvene at 7:10 sharp. 7:10. Okay, Mike, come on down.
Oh, are we? Okay, whatever.
went to church with his family.
Oh, that's nice. Okay, I will call the meeting back to order. Excuse me, I'm calling,
So everyone can read it.
I'm calling the meeting back to, here.
Just for your information.
Okay. Mike, make sure you get a slice of cake. Okay. And Bill, make sure I don't, I gotta make sure I don't get any of that. All right. Okay, we are back. We're back on the record. And now we're on to Mayor's Emerging Issues and Report. And as you see there, we've had a busy time. At Pete von Reichbauer has a regular breakfast with leaders in South King County and the immediate area. We were over at Emerald Downs on November 20th. Washington's Secretary of State Steve Hobbs was there at the Good Eggs Breakfast to talk about election security, running elections, and the challenges that Secretary of State Steve Hobbs faces. It was really a very interesting conversation about election security and all the different things going on, his statewide responsibilities. It was great, and that's that picture from the on the left-hand side. Then we had the Hanrui garden sign installation on Wednesday, November 27th, last Wednesday, the day before Thanksgiving. And it's going to be a beautiful, it is a beautiful structure, but the completed park is going to be absolutely beautiful. It's over there by the King County Aquatic Center, right next to where Mike is. And between that and the ball fields, the Little League ball fields. And this has been in the works for quite some time. I want to thank everybody. Actually, the Consulate General was there, along with Mike Park, many members of the Korean American community and the leadership of their organization. And where there's mud and construction and all that, there's going to be a beautiful park and not a gate, but a wall and really a pathway. It's going to be a great place for people to stop and contemplate or get married, or it's going to be a beautiful facility that'll be there for a long time. We actually, when we went back to South Korea a year and a half ago, one of our sister city trips, they had brought their architect for that facility, and then they actually brought in several of the builders. The builders that actually brought this together actually came from South Korea. And so I think it's important to note that Hanrui means we are one. And sort of like the United States motto, which is e pluribus unum, for many we are one. So it was watch that how that develops. I want to say a very special thank you to John Hutton and your team and EJ and Brian and all of the work they've raised. The Korean community and the folks involved have raised hundreds of thousands of dollars for that, and it's going to be a beautiful amenity for our community right there in 348th. All right, then we had the just past Saturday we had the Arts Foundation Federal Way Performing Arts and Events Center Holiday Festival on November 30th. They showed a movie, and that's the pictures to the right there. And the lobby at the Performing Arts and Events Center was packed, and they did a great job. John, your team did a fantastic job over there, and then they showed a movie for the kids and the families, and it was a great day. Okay, next. Okay, these are upcoming events. We've got the Jingle Bell Brunch at the Community Center this coming Saturday, December 7th, and that's at 10 a.m. Later that same day, we've got the tree lighting. We've got an example of that in previous years. It's great to see all the kids and the families and everybody coming together for the lighting of our tree in Town Square Park. And that'll also be on, like I said, Saturday, December 7th. And that's going to be at 4 p.m. Where we get started. And then I think rumor has it Santa and Mrs. Claus will make an appearance as well. Then we've got Cookies with Mrs. Claus, Community Center, Thursday, December 19th at 5:30 p.m. Okay. And then we obviously have the Christmas holiday coming up. We'll be closed at noon the day before on Wednesday here at City Hall to give people time to prepare. And so the 24th at noon will close, and then we've got the entire, obviously, Christmas day off. And then New Year's, same thing, the day before New Year's, noon on Tuesday through Wednesday, January 1st, returning work the next day. So I believe that's my report. Do we have anything else? All right, that's it. All right, so lots going on, and but now what's going on is the most important part of the meeting. It's just to hear from the folks we work for, and that's public comment. So everybody knows the rules. So you've got 3 minutes unless you're speaking for 5 individuals who are present. Green means go, yellow means you've got 30 seconds, red means please stop, and I don't like to interrupt people, so please, when you see the yellow, start to wind down, and once you hear the red or the buzzer, please wind up within a sentence or two, or sooner. So why don't I list off a couple of folks, and let's be efficient about this, and people can queue up in the back. We have, why don't I read what we've got, and you can sort of make your way over there. We'll have Susan Strong, Steve Milius, Sadia Abdullah, Tirza Idahosa, Shannon Kelly Ray, Homa Inajapan. All right. Kevin Morris, Quentin Morris, and Suzanne Vargo. And then I think we've got, do we still have Juan Luis Hueros Ramos on the phone? Very good. We'll take care of that at the end. All right, Susan.
Mr. Mayor, Council President Kochmar, council members, I'm Susan Strong, and I've lived in Federal Way since 1975. Recently, my husband and I were in our car in the Federal Way Fred Meyer parking lot when we noticed that the car in front of us was waiting for an older gentleman to cross the crosswalk in front of a car that was in front of us. I lost my spot, but I'm getting older. This process was taking quite a while, so we took a closer look, and we noticed that the gentleman was using a white cane while using crutches to cross in this crosswalk. While he was walking along with his cane, he also had his shopping bags hanging from his shoulders, hanging from his crutches, while his jacket was dragging along behind him. He was obviously blind. The lady in the car in front of us got out of the car and ran over to help him, so I got out of the car and followed her. While the two of us helped him organize his groceries, another gentleman joined us and asked what he could do to help us help him. By then, I'd learned that Dawn was planning to take the bus on 21st Avenue to Safeway on Pack Highway. I said that we would be glad to help him get there if he felt safe with us. Bob and I looked pretty innocent, but he couldn't see what we looked like. So the 4 of us helped get him into our Honda. Bob and I sat there talking to him, and we figured out that he had a cell phone that if I texted him, he got it as a message that he could hear. So we made that work so we could see that he actually got the message, that he got my name and my phone number. And then he told us that he was 75. Does that mean I have 30 seconds left?
I'm going to give you an extra minute and a half because I think it took you. Let's add it a minute and a half because we're all curious where this is going.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm getting old, and this I meant this to go better. So he's 75 years old. He has diabetes. He's been blind since 2011. He moved to Federal Way in 2011. He lives on Social Security. Anyway, my bottom line is, can this poor guy get his groceries delivered to him? So what I'm looking for is a way to get this figured out. Otherwise, Bob and I are going to be picking up groceries for him and taking them to him. So that's the bottom line. I've got his cell phone number, and I can call him. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. And thank you for doing that, and thank you for being so kind. And what I'm going to do is have Bill talk to you. Let's just make sure we've got your numbers, because there are some services where groceries can get delivered.
Oh,
and
great.
so Bill will talk to you in just here in a few minutes.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. All right, Steve Milius.
Hi, my name is Steve Milius. I've been a resident of Federal Way for 7 years now. I strongly support the proposals to remove the harmful DEI language from our 20-year comprehensive plan. So over the past decade or so, DEI ideology has taken a hold, and often leading to unintended consequences like increased division, segregation, mediocre quality of work and life, and a focus on outcomes rather than individual potential. Federal Way's slogan, centered on opportunity, is a core value of our city. By retaining the DEI language, we risk shifting our focus on centered on opportunity to centered on outcomes rather than empowering individuals. Here are two recent examples of what centered on outcome may look like. Recently, the Seattle Public Schools' decision to dismantle gifted and talented programs under the guise of diversity and equity has limited the opportunities for high-achieving students and is a form of systematic discrimination. And second, the King County Regional Homelessness Authority hiring Mark Dones as director, primarily based off of diversity and equity considerations. This has led to hundreds of millions of dollars of wasteful spending and a worse off homelessness crisis. But thankfully, the growing number of institutions, including Boeing, Walmart, and states like Utah and Texas, are recognizing the harm of DEI policies and have already abolished them. So let's not allow the DEI to take root in Federal Way, and we must prioritize individual merit and opportunity for all. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Saudi Abdullah.
Irony. Greetings, Mr. Mayor and council members. Integrity and honesty are the cornerstones of effective government. Our community places its trust in you to act transparently and fairly in every decision that you make. And I stand before you today because I cannot allow the record to be distorted regarding issues surrounding diversity, equity, and inclusion. 2 weeks ago, this council nor the public was provided a full, accurate account of the events leading to the selection of DEI consultant. Following the interviews, the 5-person panel reached a consensus, voting 3-1-1 in favor of Channing Kelly-Ray and her firm, a decision announced publicly during the Diversity Commission meeting. However, everything changed when the city staff member viewed an unrelated video in which Ms. Kelly shared her lived experience of workplace discrimination. To be clear, this video contained no disparaging remarks or disputed facts, yet a senior staff reversed their vote to favor a less equipped firm. What's particularly troubling is the same staff member spoke highly of Ms. Kelly-Ray's qualifications and technical assistance and was skeptical of the person you eventually hired. This reversal left the decision maker in your hands, Mr. Mayor, and my question remains, what objective criteria did you use to support a lesser qualified firm over the one that the panel initially overwhelmingly supported? The broader issue is even more concerning. City staff have expressed fears about whether or not this council and this mayor are genuinely committed to advancing DEI work. Instead, instead of feeling free to recommend the most qualified candidates, staff worry about how their selections will look to you. This fosters an environment of hesitation and fear and undermining the principles of equity and inclusion that you claim to champion. It's my sincere hope that the rubric that was applied after the city's reversal is not being used to justify what at its core is an inequitable outcome. These actions echo tactics during the Jim Crow era to deny Black people their rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It is disheartening to see such parallels in a decision that should have been rooted in fairness and transparency. In closing, I must also express my disappointment, Mr. Mayor. You and I have had a lot of meaningful conversations about my personal commitment to ensuring that our city is thriving and inclusive. I've worked tirelessly to bring decorum and dignity to the Diversity Commission and to ensure that your staff is always treated with dignity and respect. And instead of engaging in honest dialogue, you've chosen a path that suggests you believe that I would sit back quietly when an anti-Black decision was pushed through this city. Shame on you. Our city deserves better, and so do the people committed to making this a place of opportunity.
All right. Thank you. Tirza Idahosa.
Good evening. I'm Mayor, City Council. I'm Tirza Idahosa, and I am from Federal Way, former DEI Commissioner, and I've done a lot of great work in this city. I'm here to say that I'm just floored. I don't know when it's going to end. We have to be honest about sincerely, not just in word only, asking for DEI. Our city is the 5th in the nation in diversity, and we have a right to do the right thing. We have a right as people who live in this city to be able to be treated well, not just as a Black person, but as a human being. There's so many things that don't go right. Reason why we need a DEI person in here, because Federal Way wants to be better. We want to live up to our city of opportunity, given the chance. And it can't be, this council can't keep blocking and stopping everything. There's over 100,000 people in this city that you have to consider when you make these decisions. We want to hold you accountable for those decisions. You can't give the most qualified person a job and then act like you didn't give it to them, because you know that they're going to come and do real work, which is what this city has been begging for. We've had 3 people in less than 3 years that could not do the job because everybody kept blocking them. And you haven't stopped. So I personally want to know, what is it going to take? This city deserves to be the best city, and I continue to say that this city can be the city that the world is looking for if you guys would do what you're really supposed to do and allow it to happen. We aren't going anywhere. We can't keep living in the 50s and the 60s, Jim Crow and all that. You just can't. And it hasn't changed much. We still have a lot of those same things going on, just a lot more undercover. We can't, just like this, blocking people. That's so discriminatory. It's racist. But we can't act like it's not happening. And you guys are sitting here allowing it to, it's 2024. I know you're shaking your head. You've done some great work, and I do appreciate you, Mr. Walsh, Commissioner Walsh, Councilman Walsh. I've watched you grow and do some things, and I'm kind of proud of you. I was a little shocked, but the last couple of meetings, I've been watching you do great work. But we can't keep blocking. And somebody has to hold and be accountable. And Mayor, at the end of the day, you're the one that has the say-so. And you can't just keep hiring people that be a yes person. That's not right. We're the ones that are suffering when you don't allow us to have the city that we could have, as great as it could be and wants to be. If you would just ask the people that are here in this city what they really want, they would tell you they would have appreciated her to be here to make the changes that this city is begging for. I want you to give another opportunity. You can't hire somebody lesser qualified and then act like you did the right thing. Do the right thing. So you can look in the mirror, see yourself. Next year, you're talking about we're going to be worldwide, international, with these games coming up here at the aquarium. America, the world is watching us. Please change. Do it this year, not next year. This year. Thank you.
Thank you. Shannon Kelly Ray.
Typically, when I have the opportunity to address a council, and I've worked with multiple cities across the state. I've worked with counties across the country. I've worked with state Supreme Courts, corporate interest, school districts, and lots of folks. But I felt that because my name keeps coming up, that I should come and address you directly. Now, I know that people have lots of opinions of what they think DEI is, but I think that even the quote that you have on the wall, centered on opportunity, as a DEI quote, I think perfectly exemplifies what it really means. And that means that the City of Federal Way would increase access and opportunity to improve outcomes for every member of the community, not some, not pick winners or losers, not to look at a marginalized group and then take that pain and visit it upon others. There are many examples, including the Civil Rights Act, the Americans with Disabilities Act, Family Medical Leave, Voting Rights, Fair Housing, Lilly Ledbetter. I never hear people challenging the commitment to hire a veteran and support military families, because that is a DEI initiative. To support seniors, to support people with disabilities, these are all DEI initiatives. To understand and recognize that oftentimes people experience long-term patterns and practices where they left behind. And to make sure that there is room for everybody in the community so that they thrive. I am the consultant that you chose. I'm the consultant that was offered a contract. And I'm the consultant that had the offer rescinded because I said, and this was told to me by your staff, I was told that the offer was rescinded because I said that to do those things would require leadership support. I was told by your staff that this council and this leadership did not truly support DEI. I was told by your staff that you were 10 years behind other cities. I was told by your staff that I might come and be effective in listening and building no solution for your community without the community. Now, to me, these things seem pretty boilerplate. My hope is that, if you choose to not work with me, that's fine. I'm sought after nationally and globally. But I like to show up and make sure that I give 40% of any money that my firm makes back into local communities. My desire is to make sure that a community is better because I was present and collaborated with you than as opposed to not have been there. It's your choice to hire who you choose, but when your staff tells me that I was discriminated against, when your staff implies or says directly in public forums that my integrity is not stellar. Now, I don't know how many people in this room have started a business, but I employ people in this state and across the country. And I have more than 25 years of experience with an exemplary reputation. I came today to have my reputation restored, because I can name police chiefs, sheriffs, mayors, city managers, governors, members of Congress and state Supreme Courts, and corporate CEOs and superintendents and nonprofit directors that will say that I operate with transparency, integrity, and confidentiality. You will never see that I have publicly disparaged any client that I've ever worked with. It's unfortunate that the city has found themselves in this position, but it was not of my doing. I didn't know members of the panel that reviewed your RFP responses. I did not know people on the panel that sat for the interviews. But when I have members reach out to me from your staff and commissions and others to share with me that these things have been said about me, then I feel the need to address you directly. I am hopeful that as part of your journey, and why did I say that you would have to have leadership buy-in? Because you've had 3 DEI leaders over the course of 3 years. That means that there is not clear and consistent support. I wish you well on your journey. I would love to have collaborated and partnered with you. My work has impacted millions of people in communities across the country. I've had clients with revenues exceeding $500 billion. My work leads to impact, and it does not harm the people that are being served by the work that we do together. I wish you luck, but I also am looking forward to additional information from my public records request so that I might be able to have a conversation with you and share with you the things that may be done better within the City of Federal Way in creating a fair and transparent process in the future.
All right, thank you. Homa Irajpana?
Good evening. My name is Homa Irajpana, and I am resident in the city of Federal Way since 1996, when I moved from San Francisco straight to the Federal Way and stayed here. I didn't choose that, but I loved it and I stayed. And I really like this city, and thank you for the mayor that is the favor of me and my 18 family members that we all voted for you. One of the major and big things that recently bothered me is the place I work at the Health Point Clinic in Federal Way, and I am going from there and then back to San Francis Hospital. I noticed that by the centering that over there is too many homeless people. I started to be around them and help them prepare facility like whatever they need, from blanket or clothes or food or pets that they have. Yesterday, I noticed that they told me that I was over there, and the center said that you cannot even stay here, and you need even to move to somewhere. I came here and I talked to Mr. Mayor, but after that I find out, no, it is no place that they can go and put the tent or something, and they are going to the woods. After talking to Leila, that she was very helpful, my question is how we can push that to facility in 320 and 348 for them, especially right now. It's very cold, and last night they wanted food. They were very hungry. I went to Costco. I bought lots of food and back over there and feed them. And they asked me that, can you go and talk again and find out when they're going to open that facilities? Leila told me takes about 3 to 6 months, one of them. But right now in this cold, I know that it is a motel that they call Fusion, something like that.
Yes.
I called and they said, no, they cannot bring, and all they have pets. That's the major thing. And when I came and I told them, I take over there, they have, each of them, they have shopping cart with full of things, and how they can go all the way with this, and they don't let the pets go inside if they don't have it in crate, and most of the dogs are huge and they don't have a crate. That didn't work. Just my question is it any way we can push that to facility? I know one of them is under renovation and another one has another problem. Is it any way we can continue to push them that they go faster, or something that they can open sooner than later, and we transfer them to these two facilities, especially in this cold weather? I don't know how we can help them. Some of them asked me for tent. I said, okay, I'm gonna go buy tent for you, but where are you gonna go? They said, nowhere, in the woods. And look at the weather, it's extremely cold. That is, I appreciate that if the residents, because I, as a resident, I feel so bad for them. I was at the Costco, I'm sorry, my time is over, just give me one more minute, please. I was in Costco actually on Wednesday afternoon, and all of a sudden I saw the camera and everything came to the parking lot. I was in parking lot loading my car, and they told me, we are from Cairo 7 News, do you let me talk to you and interview you? I said, yes, what's going on? They said, last minute shopping for Thanksgiving. I showed them, look at my trunk. It is last minute shopping for Thanksgiving. You see any turkey, any deer, except all dry food for dogs and cats and canned food, and pizza and chicken for the homeless people. No, the Thanksgiving is not only for us, it's for them too, especially in this season. And they show in the Cairo 7 on Wednesday afternoon at 5 o'clock and then at 10 o'clock. But my question is, and they were very sad when they find out that, they said, you don't have anything for Thanksgiving. I said, no. Thanksgiving is when I know that the other residents here, they are in safe too.
Well, thank you, Homa. We did open up the Fusion with the hotel right around where the post office is, about 328th. That hotel is open for emergency cold weather shelter. I was actually trying to find your phone number earlier today to let you know that Fusion did open. So I'm sorry about the pets, but thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Kevin Morris.
Mr. Mayor, it's been a while since I've been up here. Council, it's good to see you. I'll need about 5-7 minutes is all.
You've got a brief PowerPoint?
Yes. First of all, I want to congratulate Stand Up Federal Way community. I think the accolades certainly go out to them. They've done an awesome job. Weekend after weekend after weekend. It's a thrill to watch. Also, I'm sorry he's not here, but Mike Dunwitty did a spectacular job with the Aquatic Center. And as you know, the last time I was up, I made my comments and my feelings about the I'm not going to call it debacle, but somewhat of a disaster at the Federal Way Community Center, the pool, which is newer than the Aquatic Center, the Federal Way Aquatic Center. And I found out today it looks like the target date to finalize the locker rooms and the spa, or not the spa, but the sauna and the steam and what have you is into May of 2025. I think that's close to a year and a half, 2 years. I suggest, if there's any chance in Mike's retirement or even just semi-retirement, that he be hired as a consultant to help clean it up. And I think he's willing to do it. So the aquatics, or the community center, to me is a gem. It's a place I love to go. I had back surgery recently. I'm cleared now to go into the pool and swim and walk next Tuesday, a week from today. So when I stop by there, here we go. It's the same old story. Come May, we'll be able to get a sauna and whatever else. So that's my statement regarding that. Now, just a brief one about DEI. My personal feelings is, why take an experiment and a policy that's failed nationwide and is still failing, and communities and states are making the changes? Take a serious hard look as you go forward with the successes and the failures of what DEI has done to our schools and to our community and businesses. Thank you. I didn't even use my 5 minutes.
All right, thank you. Quentin Morris.
Thank you very much. The reason I'm here is because I saw Stand Up Federal Way on your agenda for recognition. And I couldn't let the time pass without giving my own recognition and taking this time, to personally thank you very much for all that you do for this community. Being on the school board, and I'm not speaking as a school board member, one of the things that we like to see and are pleased to see is the promotion of activism. And I think our nation depends on activism in the right way and focused in the right manner. And you exemplify, I think, activism in the most positive sense, for the improvement of our community in the most benign but yet benevolent way. And your passion comes through in all of our interaction, and I just want to thank you. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much, Director. And thank you for your work for our community. Suzanne Vargo.
Don't start the time yet. Okay.
We'll wait.
Hi,
We'll
Mayor.
wait. We'll wait for you to be ready.
Hi, Council. Hi, everybody. I'm here to talk about the Port of Seattle meeting that happened a few weeks ago in their proposal for a new runway build-out. The plans will no doubt be approved, but my concern lies with the repercussions that we here in Federal Way will endure, and we are already enduring, as you well know. Federal Way does not qualify for noise mitigation resources because the FAA does not believe that we experience any negative impacts. Federal Way is under the 647 decibel levels, and therefore we don't have a voice at the table. So I am here today to ask everybody, and I'm going to get a Facebook page going as well. We have until December 13th to respond to the Port of Seattle, to let them know that we need new monitoring systems going on. I don't know where they got the 647, but we are clearly over that. And unless we all speak up, we are going to be left out of the loop. And our future kind of depends on that. Marine Hills experienced trauma for 20 years, and the result was to no longer drop the landing gear over their homes, and now they drop it over my house in the south end. Love that so much. Yeah, so not only are they at the south side, they're on the west side. So health issues are at stake: the air we breathe, the water we drink, the mental stressors from the excessive planes overhead, air quality, flying over nearly every lake, our wetlands and aquifers. Federal Way is a significant part of the international flight pathway, and we have highly sensitive, erosive hillsides along Highway 509. And now these planes are going over the Adelaide and Lakota area. You will always remember, or you will remember, the two large landslides that we experienced in years past, how expensive that was to clean up and the damage it's done to our fish-bearing creeks. So I worry very much about Camp Kilworth, as it is a high cliff bank. In fact, that is the reason that camp was saved, is because it is a part of the wildlife corridor. So I am concerned about the flights going overhead over there. We have 1,440 planes going over our city every single day. I can't have conversations with my neighbors. My house shakes. Planes drop their gear and cruise at ridiculously low levels. I think you guys have had conversations. I know we're going to have a letter that is being submitted. I will just wrap this up by saying, please visit the city website. There's a QR code. You can go to SAMP environmentalreview.org by the 13th, and just please let them know we need new testing so we can be a part of the conversation. It is only going to get worse. At about 400%, it will increase. So thank you so much for your time. Appreciate all of you.
Great. Thank you very much, Suzanne. All right, now we have now we've got the phone comment by Juan. Juan, can you hear me? Hello?
Can you hear me?
We can, yes.
Okay, thank you so much.
The floor is yours.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor Farrell, Council President Kochmar, members of the council. I'm coming to you today here at Thomas Jefferson High School, unfortunately, where I am a coach for the school's debate team. I wish to talk to you today about our great community called Stand Up Federal Way. Back in September, I learned firsthand about Stand Up's dedication when I found myself ankle deep in mud at one of their cleanup operations. My brand new white shoes proving to be a questionable choice that day, as I nearly took an unplanned mud bath. I couldn't help but laugh and be amazed by the volunteers who show up, rain or shine, to restore safety and cleanliness in our community spaces. These dedicated community members has transformed numerous areas in Federal Way. Through their tireless efforts, their regular cleanups have removed encampments, restored public spaces to their intended use, and helped create safer passage for our residents. the impact of their work extends throughout our city, showing my debate students and all our young people in this community what it means to take action and what to make real change in our community. This work directly connects to the challenges facing our local businesses as well. Recently, I spoke with a longtime business owner, King's Cleaner, located at South Military Road South, a dedicated woman who has operated her dry cleaning business here for years, longer than I've been alive. She shared to me today when I was picking up my clothes her growing concerns about safety, mostly because people have been sleeping in her property, have been trying to break into her business at night. I even called 911 one time when I was driving by there at 2 a.m., and I noticed encampments being built up in there. She is begging for increased police response and police presence, not just for her business, but her entire neighborhood well-being. These challenges require the same spirit of community engagement that Stand Up has. When we see a problem, we don't look away. We roll up our sleeves, we work together, and we find solutions. Stand Up Federal Way deserves recognition because they've shown us what dedicated community action looks like. They demonstrated the real change happens when ordinary citizens decide to take action. Their work helps ensure our public spaces remain safe and accessible while supporting our local businesses and residents. To everyone at Stand Up Federal Way, thank you for leading by example. You've shown us that when we stand for our community, we all lift each other up. Thank you very much. Have a great night. Coming from you live at Thomas Jefferson High School. Go Raiders.
All right. Okay, thank you. I do want to note, I know that Homa had addressed this issue, and I said something, but one of the things I had a note on here for my mayor's update was that the Fusion Cold Weather Shelter was opened yesterday, and it'll be open again tonight. We've let people out in the community know this. Last night, just so you know, it served 12 people. 7 of those were overnight stays, including 2 children. So we had 12 people show up, but 5 decided to leave based on some of the rules of the facility. So, but anyway, we had 7 overnight stays last night, including 2 children. So it's something that I want to say thank you to Fusion for their ongoing work, working in partnership with us to protect the homeless.
Mayor, may I ask? According to the speaker, people cannot take their pets into the shelter without a crate. Could we purchase some crates? I mean, if...
Yeah. You know what, I'll look into that.
People deserve to have shelter. If we have it available and what the barrier is not having someplace to put their animal, then I think we should provide that.
You bet. We'll look into that. Some animals don't, don't really,
fit in well, I
yeah,
understand.
No.
Yeah.
We tried to crate our dog, remember, Bailey, we tried to, some animals don't respond that well, but we're gonna look into that.
Okay.
Brian, will you remind me of that tomorrow? Let's communicate with Fusion and see if that's something they're amenable. Thank you, it's a good point, because if that's the barrier, let's address it. Thank you. And thank you, Homa, for your work on this. And thank you, everybody who came and spoke to the council. Some of the issues we responded to rather quickly. Some are more longstanding and so anyway, thank you, everybody who showed up and participated in public comment. It's critically important that we hear from you. Okay, now moving on to presentations. We have a mayoral proclamation for the 1,000th day anniversary of the Ukraine-Russian war. We have in our presence Vitaly Pikatin with the Slavic Gospel Church of Federal Way, and we also have the Honorary Consul General to the area from Ukraine, Valery Golod-Brodko. Valery's done a lot of work in our community, and again, he's the Honorary Consul. He sent a note that said, something came up unexpectedly, so unfortunately I will not be in person or Zoom. Please pass on my apologies and gratitude for standing up with Ukraine, Jim. The council president, all the council members, thank you. And again, Valery Golodbroko, Honorary Consul General. And then also we have Vitaly, And Vitaly, if you could go to the podium, I'll read the proclamation, and I'll provide you with a copy of this, and we'll send the honorary consul Valeri his copy. Proclamation. Whereas for 1,000 days, Russia has been pursuing a war of aggression against Ukraine in flagrant violation of international law and the United Nations Charter. And whereas the Ukrainian people have endured immense suffering, with thousands of innocent civilians killed or injured and millions more forced to flee their homes, being temporarily displaced in Ukraine and seeking shelter across Europe. And whereas we've been inspired by the resilience and courage shown by the Ukrainian people in defense of their country, who believe in the values of democracy and human rights. And whereas the people of both Federal Way and Ukraine share a similar commitment to democracy and human rights, and many Ukrainians have immigrated to Federal Way in recent decades. And whereas our residents, as well as those in the region, state, and nation, have been providing the people of Ukraine with multifaceted support to help cope with the dramatic consequences of Russia's war of aggression. Now, therefore, I, the undersigned mayor of the city of Federal Way, do hereby recognize the 1,000th day anniversary of the Russian-Ukrainian war. I call upon all residents to join in commemorating this significant occasion that recognizes more than 1,000 days of resilience in honor of our Ukrainian American community. We remain committed to supporting Ukrainians' people, enduring spirit, and their ongoing struggle for freedom and self-governance. Signed this 3rd day of December, 2024, and that's my signature. And then also, I want to let you know that I spoke just today with the former mayor of our sister city in Rivne, Alex Tretiak, and he was in Brussels today. I spoke with him from the European Parliament. We had a Zoom conference. It was good to talk to the former mayor, and he is very much appreciative. I want to let the council know he's very much appreciative of our support here in our community and in the United States. And in fact, actually, he invited me to go to Washington, D.C., I believe in February 7th, for Ukraine Advocacy Day in Washington, D.C. So with that, let me hand this to you, Vitaly.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, council members. I have an honor to stand here as a representative of Ukrainian community of City of Federal Way, as a resident of City of Federal Way over 23 years. And I would like to share and to express my gratitude for your support of our community in the time of the sorrow and in time of this unjustified Russian aggression against Ukraine, against our relatives, brothers and sisters living there. So we've been heard from this news from day number one, and I had an honor on February 25th, 2022, to raise Ukrainian flag together with all of you, and that was very memorable. So thank you for support for our community. And today I'm here to stand and just to say thank you for your support in our trip when me and my wife personally, we organized the fundraiser, and we purchased 2 ambulances which we shipped to Europe, to Poland, and we were standing at the time to make a decision how to pass it on, because it's a war. Actually, I was there 9 times during the war, and we decided we're going to continue and finish our mission. So I asked Mayor to sign a letter of support on the agreement of sister cities, City of Federal Way and City of Rivne, to have this letter which will support me as a chaplain and who organized this noble project to ship those 2 ambulances. And it's really helped. Right at the border, we had the troubles with Polish customs. They gave us a lots of headache, a lots of troubles. And I almost gave up. They said, you need to go back, you need to do more paperwork. It's 11 p.m., another hour, and we're gonna have a curfew hours in Ukraine. You cannot go far, passing the border. And they asked me, do you have more papers? And then I recall that I have a letter from a mayor. I said, yes, I do have a paper. So I ran to my ambulance van, because I was driving on the one. My wife was driving personally in the second ambulance, loaded with the medication, with the wheelchairs, all the good stuff. So I grabbed that letter from mayor. I gave it for the Polish customer. I said, call for your boss. He called his boss at the night shift, and he said, yeah, there is a letter from mayor to mayor. So he closed the door, opened up in like 20 seconds. Okay, you're gonna go now. So he stamped our passports. And for us, it was like a sign from heaven how we can work together. And I'm really grateful for this moment. It's just a small thing. I'm here also to say thank you for all Ukrainian. I want to pass the greeting from the secretary of the city of Rivne, Victor Shakirzian, who met us. And we also pass the greeting from you, Mayor, and from our city, from all the Ukrainian residents of our city of Federal Way. And from city of Rivne, me and my wife, we personally drove more than 1,000 kilometers to the front line to pass those ambulances for residents of city of Rivne who are medics, paramedics right now, who are saving lives. And from there, we brought this greeting, and this is show the character of Ukrainian soul. So this is a deadly thing. That's a shell, right? But what Ukrainians do, so this is from Ukrainian paramedics gifted from me. Ukrainian volunteer in city of Rivne, she is the mother of big family. How she's doing the fundraiser? She's just drawing those nice flowers, and she's making the actions to do the fundraiser, to buy the medication and all kind of stuff for her defenders on the front line. So she passed that for you, Mayor, and I have this flag. It says, thank you, City of Federal Way, from Ukrainian community, and special thank you from sister city of Rivne. I'm going to pass it on for you. And I'm standing here for a reason. Not just to pass a gratitude from Ukrainian community, but I'm also here to recognize hard work of all of you, all public servants in our city, in our community. And I'm not representing right now my South-Skin Fire Department. I'm wearing right now the uniform because Bill Vadino, he asked me, can you wear your uniform at the City Hall? Because I'm honored to be accepted. For last 2 months, I'm serving for our community as a chaplain with our first responders with South-Skin Fire Department. And I had an honor to be invited and to stand with the Stand Up Federal Way, because there is a reason. I do remember when first time I met Linda Kochmar, I met Jack Walsh, I met Stand Up Federal Way group, and they were leading by example for me. And I said them, when we were standing here for the picture, I said, I am the fruit of your work. You are a great example, and you guys encourage me to be a servant for our community. So I'm honored to serve alongside with our first responders, and I'm not leaving you guys. If you guys not kicking me out, I'll be honored to serve with you on the streets of our beautiful city of Federal Way. Thank you for the time. Maybe I took more time. I'm grateful for your support for Ukraine, for Ukrainian community, and this is shows compassion for us. May God bless you. Thank you. And last thing I want to say, what said our president. This is my motto. He said, I believe it's Kennedy proclamation. He said, don't ask what country can do for you, but ask what you can do for your country. And this is what I have in my heart, what I can do for my community, for City of Federal Way, and for our district. Thank you.
Thank you, Vitali. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, now we are on to council committee and regional committee reports. Let's see here. We will, the Parks, Recreation, Human Services, and Public Safety Committee, Council Member Walsh.
All right, we will be meeting once again. We did not have a November meeting. We'll be meeting once again a week from tonight. That is December 10th at 5 o'clock right here in the council chamber. I would just like to make a comment on about the creation of one of the newest park amenities, facilities. I'm not quite sure what the word is, but the Hanwuri Garden.
Oh, yeah.
And it was wonderful to be there. And our sister city and the Korean American, Federal Way Korean American Association, they had 9 workers here for a month to put that together. And I was amazed at the craftsmanship of the facility there. And when the landscaping is all done this next spring, it is going to be beautiful. And the meaning of Hanuri is, as the mayor said, we are one, just has a great significance. So that is my report. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. All right, do we have anybody from, I know our chair of LUTC is not present, but any member that would, of LUTC that would like to, Paul, any update on LUTC? All right, all right.
I mean, that, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they met, LUTC met yesterday, but last
Oh, I
night,
see.
but anyway.
Yes.
So we're talking about some things possibly, this is coming up, some changes to our comprehensive plan that might provide some interesting changes going in the future. So some pretty heavy discussions going on with land use at the moment and planning commission, and there will be public meetings regarding it all.
Okay. And the chair of our Finance, Economic Development, and Regional Affairs Committee, FEDREC, is also excused and not present today. But do we have an update, Paul?
I'll do a quick update on that one. So pretty much consent agenda items B through L were spoken about at our last meeting. Next meeting will be in January. We have nothing in December, and there's not really much else to say right now.
Very good. Okay. Logic Tax thank you very much. Logic Tax Advisory Committee, LTAC, Councilmember Assefa Dawson.
Thank you, Mayor, and there's nothing to report on.
All right. Regional Committees report, Councilmember Honda.
Thank you. I've been chair of the skateboard committee for the last year and vice chair before that, and I would like to publicly thank Chris Arkels. He is a King County employee. He represents King County Executive Dow Constantine on skateboard, and he is retiring in December. And he's been a big part of skateboard and getting the agendas going and getting speakers there and giving cities information. Skateboard is the South County Transportation Area Board, and it has cities Kent, Renton, Tukwila. We have Port of Tacoma attends, Milton comes. So it goes from Pierce County to up to Renton. And it's one of 3 transportation boards in King County. But I'd like to thank Chris publicly for his work on skateboard over the many, many years. And he's been a big help to me as chair. We're having a PIC meeting next Wednesday, December 11th from 7 to 9. It's all virtual, and any council member is welcome to sign in and watch. We are going to be discussing the regional board and committee appointments, and if you applied for a board or committee last week, you should have gotten an email about if you were appointed or not, and then it is voted on at the PIC meeting. We will be having a discussion on the King County long-term waste disposal options and the 2025 SCA legislative agenda. And I would welcome any council members from Federal Way to join that. Also, I wanted to bring attention to, I found this flyer downstairs today, and I just want to let folks know that December 5th, from 5 to 6:30 p.m. here in City Hall Council Chambers, The Parks Department will be asking for people to come, share your views on the design concepts for the new Kana Park Playground, which is known as Alderbrook Park. And here's a flyer. Anyway, so there's playground equipment that will be purchased, and looking for people's opinions. And South King Fire is doing their Santa parades and food drive. The City of Federal Way is part of the Santa parades because they drive a van and collect food. So if you are interested, this week they're in Des Moines, and then December 9th, 10th, 16th, and 17th, they're in Federal Way. And the parades go from 5:30 to 8:30 or later. They are, last year I can't remember how many tons of food that pounds of food that they collected, but this year they expect to collect more. And so as they go around the neighborhoods, if you have food, they'll stop and they'll collect the food from you. And it's really important. The food banks really, really need some help right now. So anyway, they do have you can find this on Facebook and social media, and it gives you the routes of the parades. And you can know in real time where the parade is because you can track the parade. So it's always fun, and it's a great way to fill the food banks. And not only does the food go to the Des Moines Food Bank, it goes to Federal Way and the Senior Food Bank here in Federal Way.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, Council President.
We're so fortunate to live in this country. We are very blessed. And it's a time of the year when we need to remember that there are people who are not as fortunate in our community, and you all know that. And just some suggestions on what to do. We have the Multi-Service Center on 9th and 336 South, right over by the Day Center. If you have extra cans of food, or if you get an extra turkey, just drive around to the back of the Multi-Service Center, and you can drop it off there anytime during the day. They're usually there, and they'll take things in. This is a time in our community where a lot of people are in need. And so now for the fun things in our community, don't forget, next Saturday we have the Christmas tree lighting at Town Square Park at 4 o'clock, and a lot of our kids will be performing on stage there. So I probably won't be talking to many of you before this is our last meeting, but I just wish you all a blessed holiday. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Council President. All right, item 8, consent agenda. These items have gone through committee. It can be passed all at once. After I read through all of them, I'll ask the council members if they have an item they would want pulled for separate consideration. All right, item A, minutes for the November 19th, 2024 regular and special meeting minutes. B, monthly financial report, October 2024. C, AP vouchers 10/16/24 through 11/15/24, and payroll vouchers 10/1/24 through 10/31/24. D, Orca Pacific Incorporated Pool and Spray Park Chemicals Goods and Services Agreement. E, interlocal agreement to share peer services with the Des Moines Municipal Court. F, Honrui Garden Directional Boring. G, Animal Services Service Shelter Agreement. H, interlocal agreement for the housing of inmates at Issaquah City Jail. I, purchase of replacement CCTV cameras for the Federal Way Community Center. J, purchase of NVR server for Federal Way Community Center and Performing Arts and Events Center. K, replacement CCTV cameras for the Performing Arts and Events Center. L, purchase of replacement of Safe City cameras, NVR server and licenses. Council, are there any items you would want pulled for separate consideration? All right, Council President Kochmar.
Thank you, Mayor. I move approval of consent agenda items A through L.
Second.
It's been a motion, a second. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Matter passed unanimously. All right, now we are on to item 9, council business. Item A, letter to FAA regarding Sustainable Airport Master Plan, SAMP expansion. We'll have a presentation from Bill Vadino, our policy advisor, on this and many other issues. And I did ask Bill to send this even in addition to the regular packet, so you'd have an opportunity to view it. But with that, Bill?
Stand by. Oh, wait a minute, we're not sharing this with the audience here. Hold on a second. Thomas, I might need your assist here. Oh, wait a minute, here we are.
He hasn't been out all night.
Right.
There we go, sure. There we are.
Here he comes.
There he is. Where's the cape?
One day you need to wear that.
Do we? So, Mayor, Council President, council members, it's, as an aside, it's nice to know that because the mayor and y'all advocated for meeting Federal Way, that we activated Suzanne Vega, which I think will be a great help with us, along with all the other residents who were at that meeting. So,
It's Suzanne Vega was a pop star in the 80s. Right.
That's
Vargas.
That's what my AI phone called you, so.
I forget the song she sang, but yes, we don't have a pop star in our presence.
No
But
third
Fargo.
runway, no third runway for us.
Sorry, Suzanne.
Okay, there we go. So anyway, the motion is that the Federal Way City Council approve the letter from the mayor and the city council to the FAA regarding the SEA master plan as part of the National Environmental Policy Act process. And that's an important part of what's going on because we're in a three-phase process with advocating on behalf of Federal Way. And the options are, of course, approve, do not approve, approve of changes, and the mayor's recommendation is number one. Now, one aside is the fact that originally this letter was going to have to be mailed tomorrow, actually by midnight tonight. We now have 10 more days, and we do have 2 signatories out of town. So if there's anything that comes up to enhance this, we do have the time. We'd have to follow public meeting situations. But I think what we have here is pretty close to what we need. So I just wanted to update you on everything that you've already heard about several times in LUTC, but this is for the public, and then we'll review the letter. Sorry about that. But basically, the overview, as we've talked about before, and as Ms. Vega also talked about, 19 additional gates, and a new passenger terminal, and all the infrastructure that's needed because they're going to expand flights. Now, one project that is of benefit to us is Chris Hall of Marine Hills, along with Dave Berger, discovered that the runway next to Pack Highway was coming in at a lower degree, 2.7 degrees over our city. That is going to be solved. No one with the airport, the port, FAA really knew that was happening, but they are raising that as part of the project, which it should have been 3 degrees like the other 2 runways all along. Now, it's very important to note that this is a 3-part process. The federal process, as has been alluded to early in the meeting, is a little bit more limited. The FAA measures sounds around the airport, and this process, they have said to us, is about the construction impacts of these projects, not necessarily the noise and the other impacts. And they also have a designation, it's called the 65 DNL day-night limit average. And then, of course, but in DC, they're trying to change that to frequency, not average. Because as we know, as the airport expands, as it's expanded over our lifetimes here, it's gotten more and more and more intense and more helpful. So what we have here is we have this situation that we're writing the letter about. Then in March and April, we're going to have the situation where we're writing with the State Environmental Protection Act. And I think we're going to have a lot more leverage and a lot more traction with that, especially with the legislative session going on and all the things that have been researched for ultrafine particles and noise and all the other things that's been doing that. And as you've seen before, and as the public has seen, this is the timeline. The third piece, this letter's number 1, the state process in the spring, summer is number 2, but the third one will be the end of the year, where we have 5 people who are the port commissioners who are going to decide to accept or not accept this expansion. And this is where we're going to leverage all the things that really need to happen to help us. Air filtration in schools and businesses, window programs that are beyond just around the airport. So we're in this long game. So this is now a 12-month game, as they say. So, and as we move down the line, especially with the state process in the spring, and the spring with the Port Commission, we're going to advocate, we need solutions for the noise challenges, for the ultrafine particles, for the late night noise. That is just not optional, which right now it's an optional program with the airport. It's got to become mandatory. And then working with our people in Congress, our federal legislation about changing the way these situations are measured. So anyway, the summary of the letter, it's in your agenda packet, is number one, we want to work with them as partners. And so, number one, we show appreciation for the fact that they moved the meeting here and that they expanded the process. They gave us 30 days notice. They gave us now something like, 50 days to respond up till December 13th. But the bottom line is, and this is the question, and they're going to have to respond once they receive this, they're going to respond to Suzanne Vega, they're going to respond to every single person who spoke at those public meetings, who sent in emails, et cetera, is what are you going to do with the impact of the 19 additional gates and all this infrastructure, because the flights are going to increase to 66 million by 2034. These aren't being built for that expansion. This expansion's happening, and it's got to get approved. And so it's not like we have to do this because we're going to expand. They have to be allowed to expand. So let's see how they answer this question about, basically, we are concerned about this impact. Talk about it. And then, of course.
William.
Yes, sir.
It's Suzanne Vargo.
Oh, Vargo?
Vargo.
Vargo. Okay.
Not Vega.
Okay, good. I've been trying to copyright this
All right.
on AI as we've been talking to try to.
Okay.
So
Just
thank
want to
you.
make sure.
Thank you. Gotta get it right. So.
Okay.
And the FAA is listening. So, the letter will also address the fact that we are grateful about the runway being raised over near Pack Highway. That'll have some. Though they don't talk about the measurement. Frankly, I don't think they want to admit that there was a problem. But you all know that it's a challenge if planes are coming in more shallow. So, and then of course another statement that we want the airport to be a success. We want the FAA believes in safety, but we want it to be balanced with the health and safety of our residents. So that's the letter. So we can talk about approving, disapproving, modifying it. We do have till the 13th, but once again, we'd have to figure out how to approve any changes. And so now this will open it up for a discussion.
Okay, Councilmember Honda.
Thank you. Thank you for your report and for your work on this. And thank you, Suzanne, for being here.
Both Suzannes, yes.
Yeah. However many there are. In years past, we've heard a lot about the Marine Hills neighborhood and the noise impacts, and honestly, it is horrible there. I was at before COVID, I was at an open house in that neighborhood, and the real estate agent was hoping that not very many planes went by during the open house because it would have an impact on selling it.
Yeah.
But that's not the only neighborhood anymore that's impacted. Suzanne lives way out, and now her neighborhood is impacted. My neighborhood's impacted. It is citywide now, and we need to stand up and say this isn't okay, and the residents of Federal Way deserve better. And so we need more people to speak up, and the impact of the noise day and night. We need to let everyone who is going to be making these decisions that impact our lives know how they impact our lives. I mean, the airport is certainly important to us, and we chose to build in Federal Way because it was close to the airport and my husband flies a lot. But still, this is going to be a huge expansion, and it will have a huge impact on us, on this area. And what we really need is the second airport. We really need that second airport, and it needs to be not in in King County or Pierce County or Thurston County. It needs to be across the mountains, in my opinion. But
And that's why the state part of the SAMP, in March and April, that's where the airport, there's where the decision makers are going to be about citing another airport, about expanding over the rest of our city. That's where that's going to be effective. And in referring to Marine Hills, their report that the mayor commissioned, 5 years ago, that's going to be our template for January, February, March, April, because the prescriptions in there are what will bring the LUTC to try to figure out how to, as the council president said, help us.
I mean, we're impacted by the military planes too.
Exactly.
When I was a little girl, they only flew over Commencement Bay, and now they fly over my house. And they're huge, and they're low, and they're noisy. So we're impacted by both airports. So,
Yeah, and that's an action chapter 2 for us in the report as we do this process.
so anyway, thank you for your work on
Very
this.
welcome.
Okay, any more comments on the letter? Council President?
Thank you, Mayor. I move approval of the proposed letter from the mayor and the city council to the Federal Aviation Administration regarding the Seattle Airport Master Plan as part of the National Environmental Policy Act process.
Second.
It's been a motion. A second. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, matter passes unanimously. Bill, good, great work. Thank you very much. Okay, all right, item B, the 2025 Axon Agreement, staff presentation by Commander Kyle Buchanan.
Good evening. Sorry, give me just 1 minute here.
While you're doing that, Kyle, Suzanne and Bill, what Suzanne Vega was famous for was that song that was always on the radio back in the late 80s, My Name is Luca. You remember that? That's Suzanne Vega. Anyway, just for those keeping score at home. All right.
How do you know these things?
I don't know. It's amazing. All right. I'm sorry, was that my outside voice? All right. Kyle?
Good evening, Mayor, Council President, and members of the council. My name is Kyle Buchanan. I'm a commander in the police department. I am here to present to you the 2025 proposed Axon agreement. The policy question in front of you is, should the city enter into a 10-year agreement with Axon Enterprise for body-worn cameras, tasers, and software for $7,397,209.05. Just a little bit of background on this contract and then also our partnership with Axon. Currently, as it stands, we have 2 existing contracts with Axon. One of them runs through 2029, and that's for some software, and the other one runs through 2026, and that is for some tasers and body-worn cameras and those sorts of things, and also some software. This new contract would bring both of those existing contracts together into one tidy contract that would be in effect for 10 years and also give us 2024 prices for 10 years, which I'll go over here in a minute. This partnership with Axon will help us to achieve our goals of the violent crime reduction team and reducing violent crime with that team. It also, with the council adding 4 new officers, it helps to increase our number of body cameras and tasers, to equip those officers with that equipment, and then also help us to solve crimes within our community like property crime and auto theft. So this contract will include the Taser 10, which is the brand new taser that Taser just came out with. We're currently using a Taser 7. I'll go over that in just a minute. It also includes a system called Fusus Pro. And then, like I just mentioned, with increasing the number of officers we have, we also need to increase the number of, or we're going to have in the future, we need to increase our body-worn cameras, our tasers, and also the licenses for the software. And so our current contract that we have right now allocates 143 cameras, tasers, and licenses. And this new contract that we're going to will take us up to 150 of those. First, speaking about the Taser 10 is the brand new taser that they came out with. The current taser that we carry, the Taser 7, you have 2 opportunities to deploy the taser. Depending on the distance you are away from the subject, you may only have 1 opportunity. And that taser goes out to 25 feet. At 25 feet, even that is a bit of a reach. You really got to be within the 20 to 22 feet for it to be really effective. You can't, the spread from that taser is predetermined for you. And the spread is the distance between the darts that the taser is effective. You have to have some sort of spread between the darts in order for the taser to be effective. The new Taser 10, there's actually 9 opportunities for you to get a good deployment of the taser on a subject and make it effective. Each time you pull the triggers, an individual dart comes out, so you can place the darts exactly where you want them on a subject in order for them to be effective. Also, these darts go out to 45 feet instead of the 25 feet that the current taser that we are using goes out to. Sorry. And it also deploys faster. You can see the enhanced penetration there at the bottom. Here in Washington, we get a lot of people wearing thick coats, especially in wintertime. The taser doesn't do well with thick clothing, the current taser that we're using. And we hope that this Taser 10 will be more effective because it does come out faster than the current taser that we're using. Going out to 45 feet allows us as police officers to use time, distance, and cover more effectively in order to de-escalate situations that we run into on the street, keep us safe, keep the suspect safe, and keep the community safe as well. The next thing I spoke about was Fusus Pro. Fusus Pro is being included in the contract. There's a couple different levels of Fusus. Fusus Basic is what's usually included in the contract. Axon is upgrading us to Fusus Pro in this contract at no charge. If we were to add Fusus Pro later, upgrade from Basic to Pro later, it's about $100,000 a year to upgrade. So over 10 years, that's about $1 million in savings right there. Just the Fusus portion of this. It allows us 500 video streams, and kind of what Fusus does is it takes all of our camera systems and all of our technology and puts them in one single pane of glass and one easy access for police officers. So we have safe city cameras here in Federal Way. There's about 250 of those or so here in Federal Way. We're going to flock cameras. We have Star Chase. We have our license plate readers on our cars, along with some of the safe city cameras. And then Fusus will also bring in closed circuit television from businesses within our community, and also from neighborhoods when the citizens of our city allow us or send us video when we send out requests to them for video of incidents that may have happened in their neighborhood. So let me just show you kind of how Fusus works. And this is just a hypothetical scenario that I came up with. Here in Federal Way. So we have a robbery that occurs at the gas station, the Chevron station here at 312th and Dash Point. So officers respond. They learn while responding that the suspect was last seen running to the west over there behind Starbucks, to the left of Starbucks there on the screen. This area doesn't have any of our safe city cameras, doesn't have any of our flock cameras. There's nothing here in the intersection with any kind of city-owned cameras. All that we have is the closed circuit television from those businesses. Officers don't have any sort of suspect vehicle description. They may have a vague description or description from the clerk, but they don't have any video. I don't know why this keeps doing this. Sorry. But that usually when these places get robbed in the middle of the night, this is a 1 a.m. type call, the manager isn't there, and we can't get access to that video until the manager gets there the next day, or if it's a weekend, it might be till Monday before we get access to that video. Due to a lack of suspect information, our investigation is pretty much paused at that point. We have to wait for video in order to get a suspect description. And these people, these dangerous people robbing convenience stores, are out in our community. And they can go out and commit more felony crimes and be a danger to our community. And then we have to have officers go back and hopefully retrieve that video a day later, maybe a couple days later, and hope that video hasn't been recorded over as well. And the same scenario if Fusus is employed here at Federal Way. What happens is Axon and Fusus go out to these businesses and say, hey, in the event of an emergency, can the police have access to your video? And I'm sorry, I don't know why this keeps happening.
It's probably on a timer.
Oh, okay. What happens is they grant us access to the cameras in the event of an emergency. So when the officers are dispatched to this call, the nearest 8 cameras pop up on the officer's in-car camera, on their mobile phone, whatever they set up to look at these cameras from. And that includes interior cameras from the Chevron, so we can get a live look at the suspect. We can see if the suspect is still there. We can see which direction they left by looking at exterior cameras and things like that. They can also, if we have talked to Starbucks, and Starbucks has allowed us to watch this video, we can also pull that video from Starbucks and rewind that video, find the suspect going over near the Starbucks, getting in a car and leaving. So that's what the officers do in this hypothetical scenario. The officers then highlight that vehicle, And Fusus will use its AI to start trying to find that vehicle inside of our city on the cameras and tell the officers where it's at. So in this situation, we're going to say that the system finds the vehicle entering Highway 18 from Enchanted Parkway South. So they're leaving our city. They're going down Highway 18 towards Auburn. Well, Auburn PD is also doing one of these. They're in the process of doing this contract and getting Fusus as well. And that is a fact. That's not hypothetical. So Auburn will have Fusus eventually. And so because Auburn also has Fusus, they also receive alert to their patrol cars that, hey, Federal Way is looking for this car. And when it enters into their city and one of their camera systems picks up that car, those officers are now notified that that car has entered their city. So in this hypothetical scenario, the officers see this vehicle, the camera sees it pulling into a gas station. Officers respond quickly. Most likely they're going to rob this gas station just like they did ours. Officers can now hopefully prevent that robbery. In this hypothetical scenario again, they get in a pursuit with the vehicle, it comes to Federal Way. So Federal Way is again notified, probably via dispatch, that this vehicle's come to us. We become involved. We have Star Chase, which is it's a GPS tracker that we deploy from our cars, and it sticks to cars, and it allows us to back off of pursuits and hopefully keep the public safer by not become engaged in a dangerous pursuit. So once we deploy Star Chase, now the location of that vehicle shows up in Fusus, and it shows us exactly on this map where this vehicle's going. So we back off the vehicle, we watch the Star Chase, and we see that this vehicle has stopped. So now we can go into the area. It's probably been abandoned by the suspect, and they're out on foot somewhere. Well, because the officers have seen the inside video and they know what this suspect now looks like, an officer coming to the area sees a suspect walking down the street, matches the suspect's description of the person they saw doing the robbery in the video, and they can arrest that person. This is just a hypothetical scenario I came up with, and how Fusus, it's just scratching the surface of some of the things that Fusus does. And this is why it is such a force multiplier for us, and really the future of law enforcement as I see it. So going back to the contract, here is a breakdown year to year of the costs. Again, $739,000 and some change each year. By executing this contract now in 2024, we are receiving a transfer credit. They're taking what we owe for next year and applying that and giving us a credit for the next contract. That's almost $290,000. They have, as part of their bundling program, they give discounts. Those discounts, as you can see, are about $743,000. The upgrade to Fusus Pro, like I said, is $100,000 a year that they're throwing in for free. It's $1 million over 10 years. And then, yesterday, while I was reviewing the contract for this presentation, I noticed when we added the 7 cameras, we were supposed to get 7 additional licenses for those cameras. And somehow we actually lost 6 licenses in this process. We're only down to 152 licenses. We need more than 150 licenses, even though we have 150 cameras, for record staff and stuff like that access, or employees like that access the Axon system. So we needed to be at about 165 licenses. And so I called Axon real quick, and Axon was gracious enough to give us 13 additional, they already had one included, but 14 free licenses, which over 10 years is about a $8,100 savings. If we delay this to the next contract, the contract we have now runs out at the end of next year. If we delay that, none of this stuff that is included in this is guaranteed. The discounts, if we do a 5-year contract, will be much less. And then we're going to end up paying about $1 million more dollars. That's a rough estimate based on the last few years of Axon and their increases they've had. And when you think about just Fusus, right now it's $100,000 a year. That technology is only getting better and better and better. Just in the 6 months that I have been monitoring it, they've added a whole bunch of new features to it. And I can only imagine that price is going to go way up to way more than $100,000 a year in the future. This contract also includes anytime the technology is updated, we get new camera, they come out with new cameras, or they come out with new tasers, new technology that is included in the contract. Everything is upgraded for free for us. They don't charge us for new tasers that come out, new body cameras that come out. upgrades to the software that we have. It's all included in this contract. The only thing that wouldn't be included is if we want to add some other feature in the future, we'd have to go back to them and modify the contract. So the options in front of you are to approve the proposed Axon agreement or do not approve the proposed Axon agreement and provide direction to staff. The mayor's recommendation is option number 1, approve the proposed agreement, and I can answer any questions that you may have.
Councilmember Daniel?
Yeah. Hey, thanks for the presentation. I also got your emails, and I appreciate that. My first one is, I'm a fan of 1984, so surveillance states is a big concern of mine. Going with this new, is it Fusus? Is that how it's pronounced?
Yes, sir.
Fusus Pro. You were saying they get access to all of our feeds. How do they get access to the feeds the city currently has?
Are you talking about officers?
No, I'm talking about the camera systems. Like, how would they get access to the feeds that we currently have? How do we connect them with our system?
They have what's called a core that they install, and it taps into our camera system to feed them into Fusus. And it's my understanding that Axon can't just go in there and look at videos and things like that. So they wouldn't have access. It would be an internal thing. Like we could access as police officers, but Axon can't jump in there and start watching videos and things like that.
When we go to look at those videos, do we go through that device into our feeds, or do we have to log into their account and then that feed gets sent to them and we look at that with like a third-party way?
I think I understand what you're asking.
Yeah, 'cause if they actually put an application or appliance in our server room and we have that sort of thing, if we log into that, that's one thing. But if we're actually streaming the videos or that's their access point to pull the videos out, that's I won't say a concern, but it's something I'd like to know.
And I'm not exactly sure how that process works.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I can't answer that because I'm not positive how that works.
Some of these things don't come up till you start talking, and all of a sudden the
Yeah.
ideas start popping up, and you want to kind of know the information. Yeah. And then, since this is it in a testing environment? Is this a beta, or is this actually live right now, and they're actually selling this to police forces out there?
Fusus has been around for a while. It was an independent company that Axon bought out about a year or so ago. So they've been around for a few years, and a number of agencies are already using it. We would be one of the first in Washington to start using it. Seattle has been approved to start it. They just haven't gotten going on it. And then there's a number of agencies. Port of Seattle has also been approved, is my understanding. There's a number of agencies like Auburn and Kent that are in the region that are also in the process of getting a contract done to start Fusus as well.
Gotcha. And then I'm going to switch over from that to some numbers. The email you sent and the numbers we got, I just want to make sure I understand this correctly. In the contract, it has 150 for the 10-year contract. What is that 150? Is that physical cameras or is that license?
That 150 is physical cameras, also the tasers,
Okay.
and then we'll have 165 licenses, so the 150 are obviously included in that. But like I said, the 15 additional licenses is for record staff and other employees that access just the software portion of it. The licenses is for the software.
Got you. So there's the physical side, that's the 150, but the actual license, which is required to access this software and the data, I assume, is at 165 that provides it for staff outside of just the police force, not the police force, but outside of the officers?
That's correct.
Okay. Then I guess my only concerns on this, actually, the last one I have is if we do the 10-year contract's kind of what makes most of us hesitant to pull the trigger on, especially in technology. Technically, everything should go down over time, not up, but that's not how the game's played a lot of the times. In the 10 years, you had mentioned that let me just pull it up so I don't speak out of turn. 1 second. Termination language states that pretty much the termination could happen if we stop funding this program. So if future councils decided this is not the right program for them, they have the capability of saying that we just will not fund that in the police department, I assume. And at that point, that gives us legal justification to kill the contract or terminate.
That's correct.
Okay. It did not mention anything. Is there any cost outside of like fees that are currently owed? Any early termination fees or anything added to it?
No.
Okay. And then if the reason the council decides in the future to move on to something else, and it happens to be a replacement to that, is that a clause that says if they don't fund it, that's you can use that as a termination? But if you're terminating our contract to start another contract with the same kind of hardware and software with a different company, that's not a termination, legitimate termination. Do you know how that would play out?
Not specifically, and I asked this a little bit of Axon. The language is very vague, as you saw in that termination clause. And so he told me that if the council decides not to fund it, that it could be terminated, the contract could be terminated. He also said that they've never had anybody terminate contracts, so they haven't come across this up to this point. So it would be
a new bridge for everybody.
A new bridge for both, yes.
Yeah, and I guess the only thing I'd have is I'd like council's kind of understanding what they think on the 5 versus 10. But thank you very much, appreciate it.
You're welcome.
All right, council, any questions, comments? Councilmember Hondo?
Thank you. You know, when this, I think, was it just last week when we talked about this?
Yes, ma'am.
It's been a long week. There was concern from the 2 council members that are not here tonight about the 5 versus 10 years. And I know I'm one of the council members that's concerned about having a 10-year contract. In your professional opinion, you do believe that the 10-year contract is the way to go?
I do. Axon is so far ahead of all their competitors right now that I don't see any of them catching up in the next few years, next 10 years. I don't know of any other company that is working on body cameras. That could change, obviously. I'd also, like I stated last week, the entire judicial ecosystem in King County and a lot of Washington is via Axon. So when we share videos and cases with other agencies, they also have Axon. We just share it through there. When we send cases to the prosecutor's offices, they have Axon. We share it directly through there. I think it would take a some company to come through that absolutely blows Axon out of the water in the next 10 years for this judicial ecosystem in our area to move away from Axon when we've already invested so much, the area has already invested so much into Axon. And so, in my opinion, I don't see anybody coming up within the next 10 years and being a viable contender to what we have in this contract.
Thank you.
All right.
I'm sorry, one more comment about that, I'm sorry. Over the last week, I have reached out to some other agencies about some of the contenders to Axon and what they're using, and I have not received good feedback from them at all. A lot of them wish that they had Axon. So I think that, again, that just reinforces that statement.
So are you talking about communities in Washington that don't have Axon?
Correct.
How many communities would you say? And are they?
I don't know the exact number that don't have Axon. I can tell you that out of 260 law enforcement agencies, about 260 law enforcement agencies, 166 are currently using Axon body-worn cameras.
And not every agency in Washington has body-worn cameras?
I'm not going to say I know that for sure.
Okay.
But I think most of them either have them or
We're working
are
towards getting
working
them.
towards them based on some of the legislative changes a few years ago.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right, Councilmember Sefa Dawson?
Yeah, so if we did agree to the 10-year contract, is there a way to review it after 5 years and see if there's any other company group, as technology advances, then maybe they will match, or we can sign a contract for the better deal, if that makes sense.
I think we can, I'm sorry, were you asking me?
Yeah, I was
Okay,
asking.
I think we can review it at any time and see if there's better options out there. And then also, when we do the budget every 2 years, that is an opportunity to review it and see if the council is going to keep funding it, and that if they decide not to, then that again, as a way to terminate the contract if we.
That is true.
So the 10 years not binding?
No, you can get.
So you consider that you consider that a way out
Terminate it if we decide.
prior to the 10 years? And I don't
I'm
know
not-
if we should have legal counsel weigh in on this.
I'm not,
Sorry, Commander. Let me have legal counsel.
The termination clause, as he stated, is super vague. It says if money is not appropriated. So it doesn't talk about whether or not it's a willful act or if it's obviously just a workaround to get out of a binding contract. The purpose of a long-term contract with a deal is to bind us to a price point. So I don't believe they're just going to say, okay, sounds good.
Yeah.
And go with it if we just find a better deal. So I think we need to go into this eyes wide open, expecting that if we sign a 10-year contract, we're going to be using this system for 10 years.
Okay, I wanted to get to the legality of that,
yes,
Commander.
sir.
Well, all right, so I see Councilmember McDaniel, your light's on?
I'm going to follow up on that one. I understand what you're saying. It's like the Microsoft and Apple. Microsoft owned it for a long time. Apple came by and it revolutionized everything. So I get that gameplay. My question is we just signed an increase in cost, even though we had a contract, one of the things we mentioned last time. If we sign this contract for 10 years, is this price going to change at all if we do not increase the amount of police officers we have? If everything just stayed the same, in a hypothetical world, would this price increase at all over the next 10 years?
No.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Councilmember McDaniel, do you have a motion?
I move approval of the proposed agreement with Axon Enterprise, Inc., and authorize the mayor to execute said agreement.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been a motion, a second. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Matter passes unanimously. Commander, thank you. Good work. Thank you for all your work, and thank you for catching that detail and making sure. I appreciate you updating the council prior to the meeting tonight, just so they had the updated information.
Thank you.
Very good. All right. All right. Item 10, ordinances. Second reading and enactment. Item A, Council Bill 889, ordinance condemnation for Redondo Creek at 16th Avenue South Culvert Replacement Project. Would the city clerk please read the ordinance title?
Council Bill 889, ordinance condemnation for Redondo Creek at 16th Avenue South Culvert Replacement Project. An ordinance of the City of Federal Way, Washington, providing for the acquisition of certain property for the purpose of constructing right-of-way improvements in the vicinity of Redondo Creek at 16th Avenue South, known as Redondo Creek at 16th Avenue South Culvert Replacement Project, describing the public use and necessity of such property, directing staff to exhaust reasonable negotiation efforts to purchase such property, authorizing the condemnation of the property, directing the city attorney to initiate all necessary actions and proceedings in the manner provided by law for said condemnation if attempts to purchase are not successful, and declaring a statement of urgency.
All right. Councilmember Walsh, do you have a motion?
I move approval of the proposed ordinance.
Second.
It's been a motion, a second. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Matter passed unanimously. Item B, Council Bill 890, ordinance condemnation for South 288th Street Road Diet Phase 2 project. Would the city clerk please read the ordinance title?
Council Bill 890, ordinance condemnation for South 288th Street Road Diet Phase 2 project. An ordinance of the City of Federal Way, Washington, providing for the acquisition of certain property for the purpose of constructing right-of-way improvements in the vicinity of South 288th Street from Pacific Highway South to Military Road South, known as South 288th Street Road Diet 2 project, describing the public use and necessity of such property, directing staff to exhaust reasonable negotiation efforts to purchase such property, providing for the condemnation of the property, and directing the city attorney to initiate all necessary actions and proceedings in the manner provided by law for said condemnation if attempts to purchase are not successful.
Councilmember Walsh?
I move approval of the proposed ordinance.
Second.
It's been a motion, a second. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Matter passes unanimously. Item C, Council Bill 891, ordinance, Ziply Fiber Pacific Franchise Ordinance. Would the city clerk please read the ordinance title?
Council Bill 891, Ordinance Ziply Fiber Pacific Franchise Ordinance, an ordinance of the City of Federal Way, Washington, granting Ziply Fiber Pacific LLC a non-exclusive franchise to occupy rights-of-way of the City of Federal Way, Washington within the specified franchise area for the purposes of constructing, maintaining, operating, replacing, and repairing a telecommunications network within and through the City of Federal Way.
All right. Councilmember
I
Walsh.
move approval of the proposed ordinance.
Second.
Been a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The matter passes unanimously. Item D, Council Bill 892, Ordinance Permanent Supportive Housing and Transitional Housing Code Amendments. Would the city clerk please read the ordinance title?
Council Bill 892, Ordinance Permanent Supportive Housing and Transitional Housing Code Amendments, an ordinance of the City of Federal Way, Washington relating to permanent supportive housing and transitional housing, amending Federal Way Revised Code 19-195-015, 19-200-045, 19-215-070, 19-220-100, 19-225-075, 19-230-065, and 19-240-085.
Councilmember Walsh.
I move approval of the proposed ordinance.
Second.
It's been a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Matter passes unanimously. Item E, Council Bill 893, Ordinance Annual Comprehensive Plan Amendments. Would the city clerk please read the ordinance title?
Council Bill 893, Ordinance Annual Comprehensive Plan Amendments, an ordinance of the City of Federal Way, Washington, amending the Federal Way Comprehensive Plan, the Comprehensive Plan Map, and Zoning Map, changing the Comprehensive Plan designation and zoning of a .9-acre parcel of land located in the southwest corner of South 308th Street and 14th Avenue South, and amending maps and texts in the transportation and centers chapters of the Federal Way Comprehensive Plan pertaining to an approximately 61-acre site bounded by Pacific Highway South to the west, South 320th Street to the north, 23rd Avenue South to the east, and South 324th Street to the south.
Councilmember Walsh.
I move approval of the proposed ordinance.
Second.
It's been a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
I have a couple.
Okay,
Just
Councilmember
wanted to make
McDaniel.
sure I clarify, this is the comprehensive plan, the actual main one, not the periodic updates that we're doing, or is this I get confused on the two.
This is the annual amendment, council member.
The next one I care is the one.
Yeah, the next one is the one I think you want to talk about.
Thank you for that. No questions.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, matter passed unanimously. All right, now, item F, Council Bill 894, Ordinance Comprehensive Plan Periodic Update. Would the city clerk please read the ordinance title?
Council Bill 894, Ordinance Comprehensive Plan Periodic Update, an ordinance of the City of Federal Way, Washington relating to updating and amending the Federal Way Comprehensive Plan and official maps pursuant to the State of Washington Growth Management Act, GMA, Chapters 3670A, revised, and rezoning approximately 55 acres from multifamily residential RM 3600 to commercial CE.
All right, Councilmember McDaniel.
Yeah, so this one has been a topic we've talked about last time, and I'm going to bring up a few items to discuss again. And then I also wanted to let people know that I feel that sometimes conversations need to be more, we need to have more conversations about certain topics and subjects instead of just pushing them along and then not actually discussing it. I think it causes issues in society when we don't address issues when they pop up. I also wanted to make some comments. Last time I brought this up, I had 3 different items I wanted to talk about. And one of the items that was brought up that I requested to have some changing on was our community members and what represented the community members. After the meeting, I had an opportunity to talk to quite a few of our council members, and I can honestly say that I've never been told to get out of this country before. And so when I talk to them and they express the situations they've been into, or the fact that not everybody is created equal in all manners, and it doesn't always come down to it when you actually go to do a job or an event, something like that. So I understood when I talked to some of my council members up here of their different stories, their different lives, their different experiences, and why they vote the way they did, and also where they stand on certain issues. But there's one item that I didn't bring up last time, but I think it's something I'm going to bring up now just to make a point. When I go up here and I vote, I think about my future. I think about my family, and I think about my potential kids. And I have, using that as the basis of this, when I look at this document, and when I read these documents, I think about my kids, and I think about how I'm supposed to explain something. And when I read the document, it had a comma in there, including, I think about, like I said, my kids in the future. And I'm not sure what I would say to them if they saw that. What side of the comma do they stand on? My bloodline is Viking, and my kids will have Apache in the bloodline. So where do they stand? They're going to be from one of the greatest nations and one of the first nations. So where do they stand? They don't stand on one side of a comma. They stand with my community. They stand with my family. So when I made that decision to make that comment, it's because I think about the future of my family, and I do not want to have to explain to them that they stand on two sides of a coin, depending on how someone wants to manipulate the situation or use them for their own means. Family is family in my mind, and community is community in my mind, and it doesn't matter where you come from, how you got here, what you're doing here. If you're part of my community, you're part of my community. So that's some clarification I want to add to that particular item. And then the second one is something that I brought up in that comment, was discussing the housing. And in the housing comments we had, it had mentioned that we had some discriminatory ordinances, rules, policies, procedures, and stuff like that. And I brought that up, and I asked to see if there was any consensus or if the council had the stomach to kind of look into that one any deeper. And I don't think there is a stomach to digest that one at the moment, because we were talking more of a historical situation and not as much of the city, even though this is the city of Federal Way. But there is something that I'd like to know if the council has a stomach for, and I'd like to actually add a further to that section, listing all of the questionable discriminatory ordinances that have been passed by the city. And I'd like to discuss that as the council, and I'd like to start with ordinance number 16825. If we're going to pass this without changing the verbiage, and we're going to make these statements, then I'd like to at least list the one ordinance that was brought forward to me that could fall into that category, and add any other ordinances that do pop up into this periodic review of this comp plan. So I open it up for a conversation from the council on that.
Would you like to read what that ordinance says?
I'll read the first half, just real quick. It's ordinance number 16825, whereas on June 7th, 2016, the City of Federal Council passes ordinance number 16821, imposing a 6-month moratorium on the creation or expansion of multifamily developments within the city, multifamily residential RM neighborhoods, business BN, community business BC, commercial enterprise CE, city center core CC-C, and city center frame CC-F zoning districts. And then it goes on to describe that the moratorium will be for 6 months, and then at that point it will be up, or I believe it's up for renewal at that time. But that would be the ordinance that was presented as an example. So if that is an example of a discriminatory action by the city, then I think that our city needs to be straight up and stick it into the comp plan and show that if we do have these mistakes and we make these mistakes, then own up to it. If we're going to leave the verbiage in there that says we have had discriminatory policies and procedures and ordinances, then I want to see it actually in there and not just have a blank statement.
Council President?
I don't know, thank you, Paul, very much. I know you're very sincere. So for the first comment, the first thing you're talking about, just so people understand, is that there was some verbiage put in the comprehensive plan currently that listed different types of racial groups, and you wanted to leave it open so that we included all groups as a member. You just stop at the word member and not delineate different people by name or different ethnic minorities by name, because obviously you're going to miss somebody. It's just going to happen. So that was what he was talking about, the first part. The second part, I don't know, with the 6-month moratorium, some people could look at that as being discriminatory, but at the time, that moratorium was simply the council put a stop on development so that we could get a handle on what was happening in the city. I don't see that as having been discriminatory. So it's kind of hard to say some were discriminatory policies.
Well, I think we need to get on track here. We're not just going to, I think from Robert's Rules of Order, let's not have council members open things up for consideration. Is there a motion before the council? And actually, why don't we do this, there's a parent motion, and there'll be a motion to amend. So, we've read the ordinance title. Councilmember Walsh, do you have a motion with regard to, the entire ordinance?
Yes, I move for the approval of the full ordinance as written.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Now, there's a motion, a second. Now it's time for discussion. Is there anybody who'd like to discuss, either move to amend or discuss pro or con the ordinance? Councilmember McDaniel.
I'm going to say motion to discuss first. I don't want to just make.
No, that's not an appropriate motion. So if you have a motion to amend, then make the motion.
Okay.
And then we'll discuss that.
I make a motion to amend the ordinance to include a language of any ordinance that has been deemed racially or discriminatory to the housing section.
Is there a second to that motion? Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Now, there's been a second to the motion. There's been a motion, a second to, Stephanie, did you capture that motion? Would you please, there's been a motion to amend. Would you please restate carefully for the clerk the city clerk to take down what the motion to amend is?
Yes. I make a motion to amend the comp plan to include in the housing section any ordinances that have been deemed to be racially or discriminatory in any way.
Brian? Or Ryan?
Just on the language, who would be the arbiter of what is deemed to be fall into this category?
So essentially a point of information. Councilmember McDaniel?
The ordinance that I'm using is the one that was sent to me by staff. When I asked the question, could you show me, please, any discriminatory ordinances, policies, or procedures the city has done since it's in a corporation?
It was
Ryan?
maybe a staff member, but that certainly has been cleared through legal. So I would refute that characterization of that ordinance. I don't think that's accurate.
Okay, let's start from the beginning. Could you, let's just roll back the tape just a minute and just say, what is the concern?
I do not believe it's accurate to say that the body of the City Federal Ways Council took action in 2016 that was discriminatory on its face. So maybe as applied is what he was trying to say, that here's some things that maybe could be interpreted as discriminatory, but I think it was meant as an example of things that might be interpreted by some as discriminatory. Putting in an ordinance that we acknowledge this as a discriminatory act is, that's a big step, and I'm not sure.
Oh, I also find it to be a big step when you can't prove it and have it written in there too. So
Yep, McDaniel, could you please say that again?
Oh, yeah, no problem. I was saying that I agree with him on that stance, but I also have a problem, and my stance is that originally the context says that there is some that exist out there. That's how I read it, because it says in black and white that there are discriminatory policies, procedures in the city, and if there is some, then I would like to have them listed. Now, if we're going to come down to who says it's racial or discriminatory, that's a different story. I was using the example that I was given, so that if we're going to leave that context and that verbiage the way it is, saying that we have had some, then I'd like to see that those ordinances and those policies, procedures, or whatever they were, included in this to show the history of Federal and what we've done to clean it up then.
Okay, Stephanie, did you get could you read back the motion to amend?
Somewhat. Councilmember McDaniel moved to amend the comp plan to include anything in the housing section of any ordinance that has been deemed to be racially discriminatory.
That'd be
Okay.
clean, a clean, easy way of doing it, yes. Yeah.
Okay, and there's been a second to that motion. Councilmember Dawson, you still assent to that second?
Seconded for the conversation.
Okay, all right. Councilmember Hondo.
So when this was added into this document, what was the thinking behind adding it? I mean, was there examples that staff looked at, or as they were writing this?
And I think you're directing your question to Keith Niven, the Director of Community Development.
I mean, how did this get into this document? How did this paragraph get into the document?
So this paragraph got into this document because we were
we were directed to be compliant with PSRC Vision 2050 and the countywide planning policies, which basically said to consider past discriminatory practices in housing in your update of your comprehensive plan. So as we looked at it and considered what has happened in Federal Way, and this is part of resurrecting the conversation we had last time, is there are clearly things that have happened in this geography. Now, we can debate whether it was in the city because a lot of it happened before we incorporated as a city in 1990. And Councilmember McDaniel specifically said, well, what has happened since? And the difficult thing that we're treading on right now, and there was a little bit of a conversation 2 weeks ago about trying to amend ordinances at first reading or at second reading, because it gets really, there's not a lot of time to be thoughtful about those edits. But, someone's opinion about what might be discriminatory is going to vary from person to person, which is, I think, why City Administrator Davis said who gets to deem the decision of what was discriminatory. I personally believe that having basically the school impact fees being at $22,000 a door for multifamily caused a stoppage of market rate apartments being built in Federal Way. And for those people that were looking for rental housing units, that was discriminatory. They had to look somewhere else outside the city because there were none being built in the city because of an artificially high school impact fee.
So
now, was that done purposely? And I think this was part of the city attorney's point is, was that done purposely to get that outcome? Or was that outcome a byproduct of something that happened because the school district asked the city council to adopt those fees? It gets very complicated very quickly. And I think, again, I don't think anybody has done research to find exhaustively whether or not there are any other things that the city has done that may have led to discriminatory housing outcomes. It's a super complicated, I think, issue to try and address, and especially to try and address here between first and second readings. But those are my opinions, and happy to answer any questions if you have more.
So that's an example of where the outcome led to something as opposed to the intent to discriminate.
I wasn't here then, but I would guess that that is indeed accurate.
All right, Councilmember Seffa-Dawson?
Yeah, my comment's going to be brief, but discrimination has been going on. It's happened. It happens. It's happening. So I don't think Federal Way is unique and not discriminatory. Like you said, the region, the country, nationally, discrimination does happen. So to believe or think that Federal Way is unique and where we have not discriminated, I don't think it's an accurate statement. And that's all I want to say.
Okay, thank you. Council Member Walsh and then Council President Kochmar.
It seems to me, I think that what's been mentioned before, I don't think that any of that was done with a discriminatory intent. And the ordinance that Councilmember McDaniel cited, I don't see it as being discriminatory in any way. Could we just insert the word potentially as, potentially discriminatory? I mean, that kind of leaves it to saying that people might perceive it.
Okay, that is an option. I'm not sure if it's that does not.
And I think that would be a question for legal or Keith or somebody.
So getting back to what Keith just said, the practicalities of changing language of the ordinance at this point it's problematic. I mean,
So if I may make a suggestion, if the council member is, we do these periodic updates every 10 years. But it doesn't mean that you couldn't initiate an annual amendment next year to explore this a little bit further. So we amend our comprehensive plan annually. It's typically done in the fourth quarter of the year. So if the council a majority of the council wanted to initiate a comprehensive plan amendment to potentially consider adding more specific examples. And then ultimately, the outcome might be just to take it all out. And you could do that next year as part of an annual comp plan amendment if you wanted to, and it could be a little bit more thoughtful than trying to do it here in the last meeting of the year. But again, I'm not suggesting that as a better choice. I'm just suggesting that as an alternative.
I totally appreciate that, and I'll probably take that route, but the reason why it's the last one is because this is the only time I have. I mean, we only have so many meetings where we can publicly have conversations, and no matter how many emails I send out back and forth, those take weeks to get the conversation going, to read through the documents. It's not a small book, it's 900 pages. And I just skimmed through and got the most important parts for me to look at. So I will actually, I will take you up on that offer. And then I also want to let you know, I dug and found on the UW site every single one of the parcels in Federal Way that has any questionable racial information on their deeds. So I will be discussing that with you too. I know it's nothing the city can do, but I don't need the city to work on that problem. I will be,
Just, do you want to, and that was a good suggestion, Keith. I was going to say something similar. Do you want to rescind your amendment?
is there a need for a motion on that, or just rescinding
You
this
just
when we take it?
withdraw your
Is your
amendment?
intention to withdraw the,
If that's what if that's a possibility, then yes.
it is a possibility.
Yes, then I'll rescind my motion.
Okay, and is your second withdrawn?
Yes.
Okay, motion to amend withdrawn. Yeah, are there any other, is there any other discussion on the main motion? All right, all those in favor of the main motion?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, matter passes unanimously. All right, and then Keith, if you could follow up with the council member, and we'll get on a calendar and we'll express that, or we'll get that worked out. All right, now we're on to council reports. Councilmember Sefadaza.
Thank you, Mayor. So I think this also kind of talks about what you said. And earlier, I was a little disturbed when the issue on DEI came up. And I think we heard both sides of the information. And DEI, when we look at it, it really means diversity, equity, and inclusion. So for people to say it's a bad thing, I don't understand. It impacts me, it affects me, and I'm saddened by what I heard. And even the emotional response from the consultant. If, in fact, the contract was rescinded, then that also, I wasn't aware.
That's not an accurate statement.
Okay. So I think that should be somehow clarified, because I wasn't aware of that, and, okay. And then also, when someone made a claim that DI should be removed, and that it's divisive, I believe it could be done well. And so I don't see it as being divisive, I just see it as being informative and actually unifying if we understand each other. And so as someone, as, you know, I embody a lot of those things that inclusion and diversity talks about. And so even when Mark Doan's name was brought up from King County Regional Housing Authority, the person used that as, because of DEI is why he had that job, is how he presented it, when it's completely different from that. And when he resigned, that was also something internal. So we don't question why other people resign, but to blame that on DEI just doesn't make sense to me. And I would use the fact that my children who have been very successful in school have been also attacked because some of their friends and their peers believed they got the education they did because of affirmative action, when my kids clearly proved that they were capable and smart and were doing what they were doing based on their merit, not because they're Black kids. So I think this misunderstanding is really more divisive and sad. I don't understand why the fear, why the backlash. And I feel like people are not being open to even have the conversation, and being closed-minded to it, again, is a question I have. And let's also understand that it's not only about race, and I did say that it's, you know, when we talk about diversity, we talk about gender, we talk about people coming from different immigrant status, language, ability, disability, all that is also really disability. Diversity. And again, I go back to inclusion. We're saying let's embrace everyone. My agency has a robust DEI department and a committee that I do serve on. And yeah, are there people who don't like it and are not comfortable with it? Yes. However, we have courageous conversations where we do talk about things where we agree to disagree and still do the work. Because these conversations have allowed us to really look deeper into our agency's culture, how we navigate, how we serve our community around housing. And so I think it's been more beneficial to have it than not, because it would just be status quo. So inequality exists, and the need for equitable solutions is real. I'm sorry, I wrote a lot while we were talking. Racial wealth gap is real, and this is due to, in part, racism and public policy. I want us to be on the right of doing policy because we are the policymakers here. I don't want us to be considered a member who did not do anything when the request came or when this discussion. So going back as a city, it bothers me. I think this could be used as a tool to unify rather than divide. And so I just want to put it out there. And also feeling unheard is real for those who experience it. Years ago, there was a poem that I stated here, but I don't even remember what the situation was at the time. But it says, when they came for the socialists, I did not speak out because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak for me. I don't want to be that person. I want to speak out for those who need the voice, and I hope that our council members and everyone here, especially at the policy level, understand that and want to work on making Federal Way a place where everybody wants to be and feels welcomed. And with that, I'm going to say Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to all. Thank you for the time.
Well said, Councilmember.
And I apologize for that.
No, thank you very much. Thank you. Councilor McDaniel.
Thank you. I'm going to covetail on that one a little bit. First of all, I'd like to thank all of the council members and the staff. You guys helped me a lot throughout this last year and a half or whatever it's been, and I've learned quite a bit. And when I do a race, and I consider this to be a race, I always save my energy for the second half. Well, next year is my second half. So if you thought I was doing a lot last year or this year, it's nothing compared to next year. I want to have some of the most uncomfortable conversations that will make our country and our society and our city grow. There's a lot of stuff that we shove under the rug because we don't want to have those uncomfortable conversations. I've been to other council meetings. I've seen other staff. They don't have what we have. And I can tell you right now, they literally do not have what we have. There's a lot of potential that we can do, and I plan on leaning on every one of you guys here to see if we can make the city even better next year. So with that said, again, I'd like to thank everybody again. I hope everybody has a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year's, and Happy Holidays. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, Councilmember Honda.
Thank you. First of all, in 2 weeks from last night, Councilmember SEPA Dawson and I will be attending the Auburn City Council meeting to give Councilmember Yolanda Trout-Manuel her award at the National Foundation of Women Legislators meeting in November. Yolanda was awarded a Woman of Excellence Award, and Washington State had 3 award members this year. Some states didn't have any, and Yolanda wasn't able to be there. So we were going to go last night. That didn't happen, but we are invited to go at the very next meeting, which is 2 weeks from last night. And we will award her in front of her council and her city and thank her for what she does for her city in Auburn. So congratulations to her. Secondly, I'd like to talk about the things going on at the PAC. you know, we hear a lot that there's nothing to do in Federal Way. The PAC has a number of holiday events going on. On Saturday before the tree lighting, there's the a community Christmas with the symphony. Then on December 8th, it's Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, a musical. The Federal Way Chorale is singing on the 13th. The 14th, the Federal Way Chorale is singing again. The Federal Way Youth Symphony is performing on the 15th. On the 19th, there's a performance. The 22nd, there's a Nutcracker. I went to buy tickets the other day, and they're almost sold out. So it's, our daughter danced in the Nutcracker for years, and it wasn't Christmas until the Nutcracker started. So if you can, since Federal Way doesn't have our own Nutcracker performance anymore, that would be fun to attend. But it was brought up to me by a community member that we don't have anything happening in Federal Way on New Year's Eve. Like Tacoma has a community celebration, other cities have community celebrations. We have the beautiful PAC. I don't see anything on the calendar for December 31st, and maybe next year we could plan a community celebration for New Year's Eve at the PAC. I mean, it's our building.
Well, who's going to watch Ryan Seacrest?
Well, you could go home by then. I mean, you know, you don't
I'm
have to
kidding.
be there all night.
I tease.
You know, if it's family friendly, you probably are going to go home before midnight, but it would be really nice to have a place where families can go on New Year's Eve and celebrate as a community.
All right.
So I challenge you, Mayor,
All
to
right.
make that happen.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
And I almost said Dick Clark.
Oh,
But,
that would age you.
Exactly, that's right. That's right, I watch them
That's called
every year.
ageism.
Exactly.
Anyway,
Okay.
I do want to say to Councilmember McDaniel, I appreciate your conversations, and I appreciate the fact that you're on council and asking us to think and have those conversations. So thank you very much. And to those in our community, there are events going on where if you need help with the holidays, there's help out there. And if you need any help finding that help, I've seen a lot of posts on Facebook of families asking for where they can get toys for their children, where they can get food for the holidays. It's available. You can contact any one of us or Amy in our council office, and we can be happy to direct you to where you can get the help that you need for your family to have a happy holiday. So anyway, thank you, be safe, and happy holidays.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Walsh?
All right. First off, with Councilmember Sefa Dawson, the quote that you're referring to, they came for the socialists and I did nothing because I was not a socialist. They came for the Jews and I did nothing because I was not a Jew. That was German pastor and theologian Martin Niemöller who said that. And this last week, my wife Judy and I went to a very, very good movie, Bonhoeffer, that I would recommend all of you go to. And in the movie, it portrays Niemöller giving that quote. And it's a very profound and thought-provoking movie about not just Niemöller, but Bonhoeffer, who stood up for what was right, and eventually he was executed because of that. But outstanding movie. I would recommend it. Outstanding, not necessarily very upbeat, but very thought-provoking. So on a little more upbeat note, I hope everyone had a wonderful Thanksgiving. Wishing you a very Merry Christmas. Along with that line, on Saturday, December 14th at 3 p.m., I will be singing a set of Christmas songs at the Bellevue Festival of the Nativity. It's at 15205 Southeast 28th Street in Bellevue. You are all invited to attend. There's other great music besides me as well, going on continually, along with just incredible nativity displays with creches, nativity sets from around the world. just a beautiful, beautiful way to get into the holiday spirit. So if any of you have so desire, let me know. I can get the information to you. But once again, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and a Happy New Year. And I'm thankful that I've been able to work with these great people on the dais and the great staff that we have here in Federal Way. Thank you.
Thank you. Council President.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm very proud of our council. I don't know if you all understand that we're able to talk about difficult issues with civility. And I'm very proud of Lydia and Paul for bringing forward what they sincerely believe in. And it's difficult to challenge, but we learn from each other that way, and I think that's a very, very good thing. And you too, Mayor. You're pretty civil most of the time. Most of the time.
Most of the time.
Except when cake's involved. All right. So, but I want to challenge you, Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
I think last year at this time, we came up with some extra money for the multi-service center because they can double the money.
That's right.
And I think it was 15,000 last year.
I think it was 19.
19?
Yeah.
Got 19 hanging around?
And that was for this, the same for the senior center.
Oh, yeah, we did it for both of them.
We did.
This reminded me.
Steve, would you make an appointment with me tomorrow morning, and we'll find it. And, you know, I think it was your suggestion at this meeting that prompted that. So,
Is that for Give Big Tuesday? Is that for that? Well, tomorrow's too late then, to double it.
No, the multi-service can double your money with their buying power. The multi-service center?
yeah.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. I've got my marching orders. I got my marching orders in regard to,
So-
we're gonna do something, for New Year's. That's it?
Right, so you all have a happy, blessed holiday, and we're going to make it happier for some of our folks.
Hear, hear. Hear, hear. With that, we're adjourned. Thank you very much, everybody.